I feel like these like insane video parts are like almost becoming more risky than they were back in the day. Because in the back of the day, it was like you could build your whole career off like a crazy video part. But now it's like you could have a crazy video part and no one even watches it.
Yeah.
It's insane. What if I decided not to be a professional mountain biker anymore? What does my life look like? Well, I'd be doing something else and I'd probably still be riding my bike at a very high level because it's just what I love to do.
Long, tighten the ski. I met a gypsy.
Now, if you've been following the podcast recently, you would know that we're on a massive health kick as we get ready to take on World Vets at Glen Helen in November of 2023. Athletic Greens is not only an all-in-one formula that helps me just cover all my nutritional bases, it's also the first healthy habit that I have that starts every single day. AG1 is packed with 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients of the highest quality that are able to offer gut health support, mood support, can affect your energy each day, and contribute to overall healthier looking hair and skin. Brandon Semenuk joins us on Gypsy Tales, and I'm pumped. Good to have you here, mate. We spoke about doing this in Farm Jam in 2020 before the world ended, and we're here now in 2023, and a whole lot of shit has gone down.
Yeah, I know, man. It's been crazy. Obviously, yeah, it was the first time we kind of connected. You were with Beerman in New Zealand. I was filming with my buddy Toby and Ben, and we were just there for like a short week and cross paths and. Yeah, I know. I remember talking about like, yeah, we should do a show. We should do a show. I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, for sure. Well, like, you're going to be in America. Like, I'll be there this winter. No. And then it was like the world ended. And yeah, now we reconnect three years later, I guess.
3 years pretty much.
Almost 4, actually.
Crazy that was the last Farm Jam.
Yeah.
For now.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. Yeah. The Frew brothers are like literally the best dudes ever. I've had so much fun there. Like we've done film projects there. I've done a couple farm jams now, and yeah, those dudes rule. They're always like, you know, the hospitality is awesome, and they're always like out there riding with us and stuff. So I miss that place. I haven't been back to New Zealand since. So
really,
hopefully, yeah, we get to go back and maybe they'll put a jam on at some point.
Be so sick. I feel like that's probably one of Tyler's like end goals with imagination too. Yeah. Is like, could you imagine an imagination course out there?
That would be ridiculous.
It'd be insane.
Yeah.
And then think if they kind of, it's not imagination, like it's its own thing, but totally. You know, you could see an imagination going down there, but with mountain bikes, with like, you could kind of, that's the kind of place where you could do it.
Yeah. You throw a bunch of sports together, but like also like you think about, like the property is really big, and if you kind of go up that hill more, it becomes like almost a little more free ridey too, like maybe less machine built stuff, and like you kind of just cut in some interesting things, and like there's some logs and rocks to work with. I don't know, like you could probably get pretty weird up there on a moto that like they haven't really touched some of that stuff with the dirt bikes yet, but we were up there with mountain bikes and we were able to find some kind of cool stuff. So yeah, that'd be insane.
Could you do like a Rampage style thing there where it's like, because Rampage is so unique with the terrain, but I wonder if a property like that, whether it was you boys or the moto dudes, where it's like, that's the canvas, find your lines, build your lines, like it could be pretty cool to do it in that kind of environment too.
I think New Zealand would be one of those places, like maybe not like that exact property, but like there's places in New Zealand where you could you can create a free ride event. I wouldn't say it's like it's going to mimic what Rampage is, but in a lot of ways you could have that similar format. And I think they've already started to look at some of this for other mountain bike events, but like you have that kind of like crazy elevation, like kind of vast open terrain where like you can kind of go anywhere, assuming you just like do a little bit of work to the terrain to make it rideable.
Yeah.
But then you've like find an area that maybe has some more like exposures and like, you know, there's already like kind of these natural undulations in the hills. So you can start working with that for like lips and landings. And I think if you found the right property, you can make a crazy like big mountain event.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I guess it would just give such a contrast to Rampage, you know, like it's different. That's just riding on the moon.
Yeah, exactly. You'd be like in a nice grass field and then you're in the desert. And it'd be totally polar opposite.
So Brandon Semenuk, who is, for the people that don't know you, how would you describe yourself? Because I feel like you're one of the most interesting men in action sports, and you have been for a very long time.
I don't know about that. I just a dude that loves bikes and cars and just pretty much anything with wheels, really. Like, I grew up in Whistler, BC. Started mountain biking at a really young age. It's Whistler's obviously this mecca for mountain biking, and it's been a big part of my life. And throughout the years, I've been really passionate about motorsports as well. So that's become an element of my life more and more as time's gone on. But yeah, I mean, I just dude that loves riding bikes. And
from a business side, like there's a whole content kind of world that you're in. So I guess like what hats do you wear in the business side of things that you've got going on? Yeah, I mean, you call it a business side, but it's really just like, is my passion kind of guiding me to certain areas. Like obviously started, just riding, like I just wanted to be on my bike all the time. And it was like, well, then what can I do with this? And that kind of led me to going to events because I wanted to be able to go and ride these cool courses and new terrain and travel. And then that kind of developed into, okay, like I want to think outside what we're riding on the courses. I want to build this and I want to do that. And then, okay, we started doing these, more thought out builds and productions around it. And that kind of just like snowballed into like bigger and bigger and different ideas. And so obviously like now there's like this production element of it where I have like a pretty tight crew of talented friends and guys that, are cinematographers, photographers, post-production, whether it's audio or visual effects, like there's just like such a good crew around me. And then we all work together and make, stuff that we're inspired to produce. And then, obviously competing and mountain biking. And then, rally's always been a big passion of mine. Just like it was kind of like my escape from mountain biking. And then that's kind of snowballed into like, now I get to do that on a professional level. So, there's, like lots of aspects to my life, but they're all things that I'm like, if I had a day job and I was like saving up to do fun things, I'm literally just doing all the fun things I'd spend that money on, I'm like, this is my job. Like, all right. Like at times it's a lot of work and it's, it can get stressful, but also really, really grateful. Like I go outside, I walk outside the door and I'm like, okay, sweet. I'm going to do the things I would be doing regardless. If I had the option to do anything, I would just be doing these things. So yeah, it's cool. I think that's the secret in a way to living the life that you want to live is like, what would you do for free?
Exactly. Yeah.
And then how do you get paid to do that? And I think there's a way to make money. Like there's real easy ways to be rich.
Oh yeah.
Like these
sure.
days, and like doing what we do. I mean, there's obviously like a potential that you can make good money, but I feel like I'm the same way. Like I love doing this. I would do this for free as a side hustle. I'm glad I don't have to. Yeah. But also like, I want to race world vets with my boys. So like, how do we make that happen? All right, let's film it and let's put it on YouTube and I'll do some sponsor deals. So it's like you kind of find a way to just integrate the life you want to live into a business in a sense.
Totally. It's like problem solving to just
do fun shit.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, all right, I'm going to figure this out so I can just have the lifestyle I want.
Yeah.
And it's like the money thing is, it's not even about the money. It's like, if I could just figure this out, then I'm doing exactly what I'd be spending the money to do.
Yeah. And I get like half the shit comp.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
When did that start for you thinking like that? Because I think when you look back at your career, like we sort of touched on a little bit at breakfast, like, when you did One Shot, that's 10 years ago. And that's a really long time in, I guess, today's world. Like you could release that right now. It would be kind of out of place in the modern landscape in a sense, but the production value still holds. So it's like you've been on that wave for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I mean, I'd bring it way back to like, obviously I was young. I was racing mountain bikes, and there was a point when I was like, let's say I'm 14 and I was racing, and I was like, kind of like, oh yeah, that's gonna be, maybe this will be my thing. Maybe I'll, my brother was a professional cross country racer, mountain biking.
Yeah.
And he was making a bit of money to do it, and I was like, I was like, whatever. I'm still living in my parents' house, this and that. I'm like, that could be an option though. Like if I make a bit of money, I could just be a mountain biker. And then like that kind of like dwindled for me in terms of just like the challenge, and I felt like the races were getting a bit stale and this and that. And then I started just like, I'm just gonna ride for fun, and that mountain biking is just gonna be my fun thing. And I'm still so young at this time. I'm not even thinking about the future. I'm just like, I just want to ride and like do whatever, like hang out with my friends and this and that. And then,
did you feel much pressure to race though, or like when you quit racing, especially if you're like good? You see those kids that are good at it, and you're like, okay, you could be professional, and then they quit to do something else. Like, you could think of like a guy like Berriman, where you're like, bro, you make like super
all the skill in the world.
Yeah, you could be the guy,
Yeah, no, I definitely did. Like when I like stopped racing, it was kind of like a big thing. I was like, I feel like my parents were like a bit bummed or taken back too. But like my brother had quit at like kind of right before I did too, and I was just like, when he would kind of stopped, he was like my motivation to be going to the races, because like obviously he's like my hero, and like always chasing my brother around.
How much older is he?
7 years.
Oh, okay. So he's like a big brother.
Yeah, exactly. And like obviously I'd go ride with him and his friends, and I'd just be like getting like whooped. They just send me down the craziest stuff.
Yeah.
But it was good for me, and like and then it was like, it kind of like opened my eyes at a young age to being like, wow, this is like, a lot. It's hard work. Like I kind of watched my brother like really struggle,
especially in cross country.
Cross country is like, you have to kind of work your way through the classes to even get to a point where you're like, you might get sponsorship, might get paid, and this and that. And he was like, he wasn't making enough money to like do what he was doing, and he was like, really, you're going just super gnarly on your body. Like the endurance sports are crazy. And then it took a toll on him, and he's like, he saw something. He was going to move forward with whatever direction he was planning to go, and. For me, I was like, well, maybe racing's not for me either. And like, I've been enjoying like just, like going to the dirt jumps, or like, I didn't even have a bike park pass. Like, I just like, I got a race bike every like year or two. And that was kind of like where my parents would help me out. They'd take me to the races, and I'd get a new race bike for like every second season.
And you were doing downhill?
No, I was doing cross country.
Cross country, okay.
Yeah, so I didn't have like a dirt jump bike. I didn't have a downhill bike.
That's crazy.
I'm like living in Whistler, and all my friends like go ride the bike park, and I'm like, man, that'd be fun too. And then, so when I stopped racing, I was like, well, like, because I was just like, I'd go to the dirt jumps, but I'd just like take my cross country bike sometimes, because it's like all I had. And then I like stopped racing, but I bought like super dirt cheap. Like found like there's an Australian that was like leaving the country, and he had like a dirt jump bike. He's like, I'll give it to you for like $200. I'm like, done. I rode like that thing was annihilated when I was done.
That's like a life-changing
deal. It was. I was like, this is something I can afford. And then I was like at the jumps with my buddies like every day. And then, I got to like I didn't have a bike park pass, but I'd hike up the hill and ride the Slopestyle course. And then through like a shop deal, kind of little bike sponsor deal, I got a few more bikes, and then I had a downhill bikes, and I was riding the bike park, and it definitely like escalated really, really fast.
Yeah.
Like I'd say I stopped racing when I was like kind of the end of like when I was 14, like the end of that summer I stopped racing, and I was like kind of had the dirt jump bike throughout that summer. Yeah. And then by like the beginning of the next year, I was like on a trip to Europe with like a full free ride team, like Gareth Dyer, Niels Winfield, Tron Hansen, like all these like really like
established
top tier like free ride slopestyle athletes at the time. And I was doing like this European bike park tour, and I ended at like this it was called 2-6 Tricks in Leogang. It was like a big dirt jump contest, like probably the biggest dirt jumps that existed at the time. And like that's where like the 2-week bike park trip ended, and it was like a whole content thing. And then they let me into the contest, and I was like, dude, it was like crazy, like just how fast it changed.
That's a whirlwind.
Yeah, for me. And I was like, when I stopped racing, it was really the mindset of like, oh, I'm just like, mountain biking is gonna be my fun thing, and then when I get older, I'll figure out what I'm like excited to do. Like maybe I'll be a firefighter or whatever it ends up being. But and then it was like, like 6 months later, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, like someone's paying me to like go around the world and ride all this new stuff. I'm like, this is exactly what I was looking for. This is what I wanted. And again, I'm like 15 years old, but I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but this is it. Like, this is great.
That's wild. Why did you get so good so quick? Like, did the skills just translate, or like, because it seems pretty insane that you could go from doing cross country. Like, obviously there's bike skill and that, but there's no massive gaps you've got to stare at. You're not doing any trick. Like, it's a completely different animal. It's
very different. Yeah, I would say like the like jumping part of it wasn't like supernatural. Like that was something I just worked on over a long period of time. But the trails in Whistler growing up, like the stuff that we like race cross country on, like were like downhill tracks, you know, and we're on like full rigid bikes.
Yeah, with no suspension.
Yeah, like they're terrible when you look at them now, and it's like, so I'm like, that's obviously like, I feel like that played a big part in like where I built up my skills as a rider, and like I feel more comfortable in like looking at terrain for the first time and figuring out how to ride it and this and that. Whereas like I've always felt like I've had to work really hard to be good at like jumping and like learning the tricks and things like that. It's just taking the time. But I had just enjoyed it so much that I was like, I put the effort in, and then the other skills kind of maybe came a bit easier, where like if I went to like a free ride event, I felt comfortable, and then I was trying to infuse some of the tricks that I had or was learning. And then when it was slopestyle, I was like, I felt comfortable riding the courses, but then again, it was like
hard to trick them. And
it was like, I had to work hard to get really comfortable, you know, to show up and just be able to like put down the tricks.
Which is what you ended up being known for too.
Which is funny because like people were like, oh, he's a slopestyle kid that like, you know, went on to win Rampage or whatever. And I'm like, I was really like
more cross country kid.
I was the cross country kid, you know, like crazy. I just rode like, I rode mountain bikes, you know. I was like, slopestyle was not my thing, but it quickly became like a big part of my riding when I had that opportunity. Like the slopestyle on the Whistler Bike Park just sat there and no one monitored it. It wasn't like now where like you're not allowed to touch it. Like I could just walk up the hill. I didn't even have to pass, and I could just ride it all day. So it was like at that point it was like, yeah, that changed my life. Like the fact that I could just go do that, because you know, I'm like, well, I could go ride the trail I've ridden 1,000 times, or I could ride the slopestyle course, and like these jumps were really fun. So I was up there literally every day.
And one thing that I always find interesting from like being an adult now, like I found stuff like I raced as a kid. I raced downhill. That was my first thing that I did, and I then was on moto, and it's like I didn't like mentally. I always thought I didn't have enough talent, and like I kind of mentally just didn't have it. Like I just told myself I wasn't going to be good. I didn't practice properly. Like I just thought I was shit and I was going to stay shit forever. And like then later on in life, like with martial arts and then moto and like just the things that I've done, I realized I'm like, oh bro, like you just fucking didn't try. Like you actually didn't have the knowledge of like what it took to do things properly. So I always, when I see someone like you that's a young kid, 14, 15, something doesn't come natural or easy to them, there was obviously some like internal conversation that you were having with yourself that got you on that hill every single day and started that slow progression. So like so many people don't do that.
Yeah. I mean, it was really just me wanting to ride all the time. Like there was no like, I want to be better. It was just like, I just wanted to be on my bike. And then like, just with my, I know, personality. Like, remember I had a 7-year-older brother. So I was challenged on everything my whole life. Like, you know, sitting at the dinner table, playing video games, this and that. Like, it was always like, I always had like this like, you know, barrier in front of me. So when I got on my bike, it was like, I kind of was like already like, felt like I was conditioned to like, oh, I want to hit this jump. Okay, I've hit it. And now I want to trick it. And now I'm struggling with this trick, but I'm just going to fight it until I get it. And then that was like kind of there. But you got to remember, I was also grew up in Whistler, which is like, you know, all the big freeride dudes. Like, you know, you go to the bike park, it's Richie Slay, it's Wade Simmons, it's Gareth Dyer, Thomas Vanderham. I'm the smallest fish in the pond. And then even in my school, you've got like Sean Pettit, Callum Pettit, Kai Peterson, they're all like the best big mountain skiers in the world. And then there's Mikey Wren's best, you know, big mountain snowboarder. And like, these are the dudes that I'm going to school with, Alex Pro, no. Like, I'm like, I was a nobody, you know? And I was like,
just surrounded by greatness.
Same feeling. I'm like, I'm not naturally talented. Like all these dudes are so much better at like their given sport than I am at mine. But I just enjoyed it so much. And then it was also motivating having like just these people around, like, wow, look at these dudes. Like they're just killing it all the time.
And they've probably been able to see a level too.
Yeah, well, and then you get conditioned to the level. Like,
yeah, you just get to see the level.
Even when we go skiing, it's like those are the dudes I'm skiing with. You're like, I guess I gotta at least be able to keep up. But like keeping up was even like a high level of skiing. You know, you're like, it's just you're a product of your environment, and I think that translated a lot with my mountain biking. Of just, I sort of like at a young age, it was like, well, that's just how good I should be.
Yeah.
But then when you start traveling, you're like, wow, I'm so fortunate. Like the place I live, like the terrain and experience that I've been given. And then, I just loved it, man. So I was just like doing it all the time, and it just kind of progressed much quicker than I thought. Yeah,
man. To go from just cross country to getting a dirt jump bike to then just literally being a paid dude to go around the world. Yeah. That's such a crazy quick transition.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And then even at that point, I was like, whatever, all the way till I was probably 18, 19. I wasn't like, oh, this is going to be my career. Like it was working, and I was getting to travel, and I was doing events, and 18 kind of like was my bigger breakthrough with like contests where I'm like, okay, now I'm like at the level I could win an event. Like I got one or two event wins, and then it was like the next season, I was like, okay, like I could come in here and maybe win like the overall of like whatever series is going on. But still at that time I was like, this isn't my long-term plan. I'm just like, I've just kind of like fell into this situation. It almost felt like I'm just like a dude that likes riding bikes, and I'm kind of like got this opportunity to travel and ride and make a bit of money at it. And then I would say 19 was probably the biggest shift, where I was kind of like, I got to go all in, or I'm like just going to kind of continue on this path, and then like it could go either way. But
what's all in look like?
Basically, like I was just like, I'm going to buy a house with property. I'm going to build a course. I'm just going to like surround myself with like-minded people that want to like film, ride, progress.
So you built a cult in BC.
Pretty much. Yeah. Like
the bike cult.
And which isn't hard, because it's like, again, it's like everyone rides, there's so many talented people around. All my good friends were like doing this, and they were on like the same trajectory, or like they were making money to do their, whether they were more content focused or event focused, or they were just, athletes kind of, they're just riding all the time, and they had other opportunities going on. But I was just like, for me, I'm like, I'm just going to like literally throw all my chips in, like spend all the money I've made to kind of like build this up. And I'm like, either it's going to work out because I'm going to like become such a better rider with like having this like be able to walk outside my door and do the things I want to do, or do practice the things I need to practice. Or, maybe I get hurt and I lose the house, and then I'm just like every other broke 19-year-old. I'm like, I was in my mind, I was like, I got nothing to lose. Like,
for sure,
let's just go for it. And it was, I put myself in a bit of a crazy situation, because it was like kind of like if I didn't win X amount of like prize money, like I probably would have lost the house.
That's sick.
But it was like I had like an insane year, like I progressed so much that year having that stuff at my disposal. And like I was also just so excited to ride my bike again, because I could just go outside and ride this like totally new stuff like this.
And you were able to build what you wanted, build like no restrictions.
Yeah, because like I started riding slopestyle contests because that stuff didn't exist. The only way you got to ride a slopestyle course, or like those features, was going to the contest. Yeah, I wasn't interested in competing at all, but I wanted to ride this stuff so bad that it was like I went there for the practice. And then now it's like I have this in my backyard. I don't even need to like go to the contest to get to ride this stuff anymore. It's like I can just literally walk outside and do it. And that was, for me at that time, was just like I was like so about it.
That's so sick. The all-in mindset is hard to wrap your head around for like 90-something% of the population, you'd assume.
Yeah.
Like,
but again,
not
I
many
was so
people.
Young.
Yeah, well, I think even in that time, like the pressures to go to college and the pressures to like find a wife that, a wife's not going to want to date some fucking mountain bike bum with all his friends. And it's like, there's so many pressures in life, especially at that age. I think that, you've got more freedom at that age, but it still stops a lot of people from investing all the way in themselves.
Yeah, I could see that. I think I also like, it was a bit of the culture I grew up in. Like my parents were ski bums that like moved to Whistler because they just wanted to ski.
Yeah.
And then, while I was doing cross country racing, I had a hard time. Like I was always gone through like the school year. So then I started doing like correspondence, like basically just do school at home, like on my own time. So I'd just ride all day and then I'd do school in the evenings.
How was that?
It was challenging a bit, but I feel like there's a lot of aspects to that where I'm like, it was good for me, it was bad for me, but the one thing I really take out of it was like, it helped me be a good problem solver, which like, I think like now with like the production stuff or like trying to piece together like a shoot and like just prepare for a contest and like, things like that where I'm like, it wasn't like homeschool where you have like someone teaching you. It was like literally like, here's the textbook, here's the work, and you just had to check the boxes. But if I got stuck on like, I didn't understand something, it was like literally just stare at the book for 5 hours until you understood it. Like, and it was sort of like, you learn to break things down and like just problem solve until you're like, okay, I get it. Yeah. Now I can move forward. So in that sense, it was probably good for me.
What were the negatives from it, do you think?
It was a bit weird not being at school. Like all my friends are at school, and then all of a sudden I'm just like feeling like a little bit disconnected from the world I was like very much a part of, like these groups of people. And then I was traveling and I come back and I'm like, these people have like changed. Like, like these are, you don't do this anymore, or you're not into that anymore. Or like, I don't know. I just felt like I didn't have like a solid group of people at home. It was like all my friends were like in other countries now, which was maybe like a good and a bad thing as well. But it was just like, it was weird to be like, almost feel like not connected to my hometown anymore. Yeah. At that age, I'm like super young. It's like your whole, you didn't have social media and stuff. It was like your social environment was like the classroom and like what people did after school. And then it was like, I didn't have that anymore. I actually started hanging out with like a lot of the ski team because they were all doing correspondence too, but they mountain biked in the summer. So they ended up becoming like my group of friends, and like, it was sweet because whatever, like in the winters I'd be gone anyways. I'd be in California or wherever riding. And then in the summers I get to ride with those dudes during like a school day. So it was pretty good, but it was interesting. But again, so kind of elaborate on that more. The correspondence program stopped when I was like just wrapping up grade 11. So I got back from a trip and I went to school to go hand in the work, and like the classroom that the correspondence thing, like where you'd go and hand it in, you do your tests, was just gone. Like I was like, I think I asked the janitor and he was like, yeah, that doesn't exist anymore. Like, okay, crazy. And like, so the teacher that was doing it, like got let go and like the whole thing. So I never even finished high school. It was just kind of like, it was sort of like what I had at the time was bikes, and I was just like, cool, I'm just gonna like focus on that now, I guess. Like I don't even have to think about the work. I just literally, I can go ride all day if I want.
That's so sick. Like, man, it's crazy when you kind of unpack everything, the way that it all shaped in for you. Because even like to hear you say that, one of the downsides was that you're disconnected and kind of like away from the classroom and like that social setting. Like, I feel like in a sense your writing has kind of even reflected that a little bit. Like, it sort of seemed like you were a dude that kind of was like, there's mountain biking. That's what mountain biking is. I'm going to be over here on a mountain bike doing what I think is mountain biking in a sense. Yeah,
it gave me my independence, definitely. And I mean, I feel like I always had a bit of my own independence, but like more so with that, where I'm just like, I just did stuff on my own. Like, I was fine with that. I didn't need like someone holding my hand or a group of people around me to be like, oh, I'm going to go do this. I was like, I'm just going to figure it out. Like, if I have to do it by myself, it's the thing I want to do, so I'm going to go do it. I would say in that sense, I think that's translated to my mountain biking a bit, and where like, maybe I'm okay to like step outside the mold a bit because I've got an idea, and like, maybe I'll fail, maybe it'll be cool, maybe it'll lead to something else. But I've always been okay with just being like, hey, I'm gonna step over here for a little bit and just try this, dabble with this. And then that attitude's led to great things too. Like, I was always pretty scared of like feeling like I was gonna fail at these certain ideas. Like, that was like a real stressful thing to me. And nowadays I'm just like, like, if I fail, I fail. It's like, if I don't try it, I'll be like more bummed or more stressed out. So I'm just like, I feel like I've kind of grown past that part of it, where I'm like, I'm okay to like do something a little different than everyone thinks I should be doing, you know, and just be like, hey, we'll just sit back and like, let me show you like what the plan is, you know, like I have it in my head.
Yeah, just wait and see.
I feel like this will be valuable. And then if it's not, then I'm like, okay, I can always go back to what I was doing or this or that. Or like, if it works, then I'm like, here you go. Like, here's the facts. Like, this worked out.
And then it builds for the next one and the next one and the next one.
And then it's just like a boost for me to be like, sweet. Like there's a new way for me to express myself, a new way for me to like interpret mountain biking or whatever it is, you know, like just the production or something like that. You know, I never wanted mountain biking to get stale for me. That was like one thing. I didn't want to feel like I was just ever working a day job, like, or like it's going to be the same thing over and over. And I was like, I'm okay. Like if it fails and like it doesn't work out for me, if I like got to do the things I want to do, like I didn't want to have to just do it and make it feel like a day job, because that just like ruins mountain biking for me. It's like I'd rather like keep that as like something that's like step away and I still love it.
Yeah, because the homeschool thing, like I fucking hated school so much. Like it was so bad. Like I did the full 12 years of just drudgery, you know,
grinding it out.
And the whole time I was like, I just don't know that I could put my kid through this. Like there's some people that like school and there's some people that it's just not a big deal, you know. But to me, I was just like, fuck, I hate this. I hate everything about this. And there was stuff that, like, I would say I'm fairly smart. Like I can kind of pick stuff up, but there's some stuff I'm just like, I don't care. Right. Like literally, if you're delivering me this information as X, Y, Z, like there's no application here. Yeah. But if you said to me like, okay, 42-1 or 32-1, okay, oh, that's two-stroke. You know,
totally.
There's a way that I could do this. Or if there's like, I ended up wanting to be an engineer because I loved bikes. Like all my uncles built bikes, my dad built bikes. Like that was a thing. And once I started, hated math, I hated all that. But then once I started to figure out, a ratio, that's like fuel. And then, you know, you start torque settings and there's all this, where if like that was delivered to me, I feel like I'd be a much quote unquote smarter person, you know. But when it's like packaged in such a way where it's just knowledge, like you're giving me the base thing, but with, it's almost like there wasn't any context that I cared about. Yeah. So
or
it's like
a future way to look at it being like, oh, this is useful to me. You're just like, why am I learning this?
Yeah. And then, you know, there's just a million reasons why for me, I think it would be better. Like I can imagine giving a kid like you the freedom, and because you're smart as well, like I think that helps. Like when you're smart to begin with, to have to figure stuff out, you know, like you can get past those roadblocks. Yeah. But for me, I was like, even now I still think like when we have kids, it's like, man, you do not have to, like, you go to school, but if there's a day you come home and you say fuck this place, then like I'm cool with it, because I'd always think like, you know, Burleigh, or you live up in the Gold Coast, or moto or mountain bikes or whatever, it's like you want to learn about geography. Where's their waves? Why are there waves here? You know, what predicts a wave? You know, swell, the moon. Like there's just all of these things that's in that you could teach a kid, where it's like you never if surfing's your thing, I can teach you business, I can teach you geography, I can teach you physics, I can teach you thermodynamics,
life skills.
There's so much in that, and it's like book a trip, start a brand, you know, like just these little kind of things. And obviously it's like you got to have the resources to kind of do that. But you know, there's if you can, I feel like there's a lot of value in that, but I guess you don't know. Like you said, there was some negatives that kind of come from,
and everyone's a bit different too, which is tough, right? Like some people, like I'd say for me, like I was good, like I was good at doing the work, but I had a really hard time sitting in the classroom. Yeah. So that it was nice when I didn't have to sit in the classroom, because I would just like, when I needed to do the work, I'd just sit down and I was like straight to it, and I'd just like hammer it out. And then, but like sitting in the classroom and it being kind of like, as soon as it was like something it was information I didn't need, like I felt like I already knew it, or like it wasn't helping me get the work done at the end of the day, I was just like, I was gone. I was like, I'm already, you've lost me. Yeah. The one really cool thing with when I did the correspondence was I got to start picking like what types of like math. I got to start picking what type of math I did.
Yeah.
So like school, you just learn like your typical, like it was like, you know, it was like algebra or whatever. I was like, I'm going to do math essentials. It taught me how to do my taxes.
Yeah.
I was like, at the time it was like, I wasn't making any money, so it didn't matter. But like now I look back, I'm like, thank God I picked that. That was like, I'm like, never used algebra in my life, but obviously as like a self-employed person, I'm like, I have the most complicated taxes ever. And now I like at least understand it, you know, to a certain point where like, I'm not going to get.
You have like competency.
Yeah. Like I'm like, I can deliver this to my bookkeeper and like make sure I did it as best I could do it. And like, I understand what they're telling, like when they come back and like, hey, you need to do this, this, and this. I'm like, I understand what they're talking about when they're like, you know, throwing crazy tax terms at me. I'm like, okay, I'm like, I get it enough. I'm just like, why aren't we learning this stuff in school in the first place?
Dude, when I started to, I've always been pretty bad at them. Like the money side, I don't give a fuck. Like as long as I got enough money, like I look a few months into the future and I'm like, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to be. This is where I want to be, like who I want to be with.
Yeah.
It's going to probably take about this much money. Sweet. I need that much money.
Yeah.
So but once you start getting employees and stuff and like actually dealing with that shit, then I was lost for a bit and I had to go super deep. Like I probably spent, it was through COVID, like I went really hard on just the whole accounting side of things, just different tax laws, what different businesses meant, so like, you know, now this whole last year has been a lot with like the Dubai and here and all that sort of stuff. But man, I can have conversations now with an accountant and be like, no, you need to look into this. Like I shouldn't be paying that. Here's all this shit. Like it's just videos I'm watching, but that dude's an accountant who does it. Like have a look at this. And there'll be guys like, oh fuck, I didn't know that.
That's
so it's
crazy.
like, it makes a huge difference. And all I thought while I was doing like my year of just like studying like tax
breaking
and
it
shit,
down,
I was like, the fuck don't I know this?
Yeah.
And I made more money as a result of it. And like when I dip in and out, like I try and be in my zero like every few days.
Yeah.
But if I'm not, like shit starts tanking.
Yeah,
you know?
totally.
So
yeah, it's like it helps you long term. Just like if you understand it, you can start putting yourself in like, okay, like I need this much business expenses to fit in this tax bracket or whatever, and then all of a sudden you've made yourself money essentially by the end of the year because you're like, well, I did the right thing. It's like, well, you can easily screw yourself over or set yourself up. And it's really like, it is fairly simple. You just have to like know what it is and what it takes and then pay attention to it.
Yeah. But this just doesn't get really taught at all.
Never.
Like just money in general.
Never,
like it's, I mean, I don't know what it's like in Canada, but in Australia, especially where we grew up too, like it's not really like that many people had money, you know? So it's just, I just don't ever think it was a conversation that came up, you know, like in the tax, it's just so breezed over.
Yeah. You get old and then you realize like, this
it's
is what I should have
all
learned.
of life. It's literally so fucking important.
Yeah.
But I just think that there's a bunch of stuff that in that correspondence route, like if you're the type of person that could do it, I just feel like it's just a huge benefit to be able to, because I just think people learn off their interests. Like my brother's a perfect example. Like dude was fucking basically illiterate when he started working. He started working for like a distributor in Australia. Oh, you might know Johnny Lusty Industries in Oz. They do like
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, they do Santa Cruz and all that.
Right.
Yeah. So he started working for them like back in the day as like the GoPro rep. Like he used to go to races and turn fucking GoPros on.
Yeah.
And then from there he ended up managing Toby Price. And then now he does like Jack Miller, Jack Doohan, Mick Doohan. Like he's just got this huge roster of dudes that he works with. And like would when he got to that job for the first time, never sent an email. He was a builder by trade.
Yeah.
And he would have to send work emails. He'd send them to my mum first. My mum would proofread his emails and send them back, and then he'd do it. Now the dude just runs like the fucking gnarliest business.
Well, he obviously hustles then.
But he was interested. Like he wanted to learn based on, he's like, okay, this is the problem I need to solve. And I'm here with like, no, I'm basically dumb as fuck in this area, you know? So it's like, but when you've got the end goal and you've got that vision in mind, it's like so much easier to work through that. Like even, you know, think about like all what you know with mountain biking, like Berriman the other day at Imagination, it was like 38-degree lip. Then they went to 34, and then they took 8 feet off the down ramp, and then they second guessed, and they were like, all right, let's go to 36, and then it sent them to, you know, so it's like they're doing math all the time. Like everything's math to be Tyler Berriman.
From it's the experience, you know, and just like your brother, like he found an area he was stoked on, but he got in at the ground level. It's like, well, we all do that. Like we started mountain biking, started motoing, whatever it is, and we sucked the first time we did it. But then you gain the experience, but you've put yourself in this environment that you love, so you will continue to like invest yourself in it and get this experience to become like a professional or master at it. And yeah, it's like you said with Bierman, like he just knows like how many times has he hit a jump that size, or he knows like where the lip needs to be and like how fast he needs to go. And it's just, I mean, the same thing when we're building now. It's like, I didn't know half this stuff 10 years ago. I'm like, thank God I've like got this information now. It makes it so much easier, because I'm like, I can literally look back at like every similar feature I've hit and been like, okay, I was kind of this fast and the pop is kind of like this, and you know, we needed the lip like that and blah, blah, blah. So it's like
you just have a database.
You can break it down in your head, but it's not even like, not like you're a mathematician, but it's like you can literally visualize it. Like, you know, just kind of like, this is how it should be. Yeah.
Dude, I think all the time how crazy it is, the calculations that our brain do when we ride. Like, even for me, I'm not that good at riding, but it's like I'll go to a new track and then you see someone hit a jump and then it like a double, like you can't half. There's jumps you can't half.
It's like you
jump,
need to get over this.
And you just figure, like, your brain does the math. Yeah. And it's obviously like what you said, it's based on a database essentially of what you've done in the past, and that's why repetition and iteration helps. But it blows my fucking mind sometimes how it's like, how does a person just do that? And then you go to Imagination or like Farm Jam. I mean, like, you've seen, were you at the half pipe at Farm Jam when Berriman was doing the half pipe session?
Yeah.
You remember when he sent the, like, everyone was kind of hitting that whip jump, and then one lap he just goes, and goes like double as far as anybody. At first go, like, there's no runner, there's no check. What, like, how do you calculate that? And that's all just like the brain doing its thing. It's so weird.
Yeah, like, obviously he has like an idea of like, just by looking at it, and obviously he's ridden around the zone a bit. He's kind of like 360'd that jump, like just like basically gone around it enough and looked at it from every angle.
It's like a mental map almost.
Where he's like, yeah, exactly. He's broke it down in his head, and he's probably like, okay, I'm gonna go, you know, this gear, this much, and this is what I'm gonna do. But then there's also just that bit of intuition where it's like, comes with experience. So he's like, he's on the lip basically, and he's probably like, okay, adjusting. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna tune it a bit here. Yeah, it's like, I need to give it more, give it less. I'm gonna pop it, whatever. But like, yeah, it's kind of funny that like you've got like a pretty good science to it. Yeah. And then like in like that split second before you're like actually hitting it, you're adjusting. You're like, oh no, this is it.
Yeah. All intuition. Yeah. Like did you see the 180 footer that he jumped at Imagination? Yeah. Like the first time. So we were there like on the ground the first. This is the other thing that's cool. So like, let's take all the math that we just spoke about, but then the fucking nuts.
Yeah.
That's what.
Yeah, there's like one thing to trust yourself enough to put it into like play. You're like, all right, now we do it.
Yeah. It will do. So it was cool. Like, we got there right after McNeil's crashed, and then they kind of shut everything down. Practice stopped, and then. So TB's like, let's go back to the barn. He did an ice bath, and the whole time he's like, so this dude, McNeil's, just has this fucking crazy crash, breaks his pelvis, breaks his femur, gets airlifted out, like literally worst case scenario. Glad he's all right. Yeah. Actually, probably it's obviously not worst case scenario. The crazy thing as well, on a sidebar, is we get there, the helis there, and they're like, don't worry, I think it's just a broken femur. And everyone's like, whew, thank God.
You're like, that's still insane.
Where the fuck are we?
Yeah, totally.
That we say, thank God, to a broken femur. But so that's all just happened, right? So then he goes, oh, come back to the thing. I'm going to do an ice bath. We'll chill. I hadn't seen him for a bit. So then we drove back, does his ice bath. The whole time he's hitting this jump, he goes back, gets his gear on, and just starts running the jump. I'm like, bro, like, what is going on to where you have that level of like belief and commitment? And like, at no point, like in my head, if I'm putting myself in his shoes, if I see that, I'm like, maybe it's a little too windy.
Yeah,
maybe today's not the day. Like, dude, I think about that to do fucking 20-minute moto at Glen Helen with no jumps, let alone that. So it's like, yeah, there's the element of calculating the jump and the speed and the wind, and like there's physics going on constantly. And then there's this whole other emotional side of the brain that's mitigating risk, putting any negativity out of your mind, actually committing, like you've got to like know yourself in that moment. And I think, well, I mean, for me, like I'm not that guy.
No.
You know, like if you put me in those situations, like, I mean, I went and raced a couple of weeks ago, and there's jumps I didn't jump. There was like a big triple. I could have done it. It was well within my ability to do it. Yeah. And I just didn't want to do it. Like that conversation with myself ended in me saying, no, I'm not doing this, you know? So like those things to come into play, that's what is special. And like Rampage is a crazy example of that too.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's what kind of separates the people that take it to that level, you know, like that, or kind of chasing that like mastery of a sport. And I don't want to speak for Tyler, but like, you know, imagination is like his brainchild. Like he's put himself in that position like before the course was even built. Like he was like, oh, we're going to build this jump before it existed. He's already like thinking about it in his head, hitting it in his mind. And like, okay, obviously his friend goes down, and it's like in most scenarios you'd be like, this is just a bad day, let's just step back. But he's still like going. Like it's like, I'm confident in my abilities. I've like already made up my mind. Like this stuff's going down. So he just like, boom, gears on. I'm ready. Like he's already been ready. And like you definitely like, I get that a lot with like film projects where you're like, I've spent months, maybe a year or two trying to piece like this whole production together, like from, you know, the creative, the tricks, what the build's going to look like, what lighting situations we're going to shoot in, this and that. And it's like, once you're just like in it, you're just like, dude, I've like been preparing for this for so long. Like nothing's going to stop me from just like getting this thing done. Like, okay, I got to hit this feature. It's a little windy. I'm like, okay, well, it's not windy enough that I can't hit it. So I'm like, okay, you know, you weigh the odds. You're like, okay, I'm going to hit it. Like, well, you just like go through the motions, and it's just like, then you take the next step. You're like, hey, hit it. Okay, I'm gonna do a couple more practices. Okay, I'm ready for the trick. Okay, the light's gonna be good in 30 minutes. Like we're gonna get this trick, and then we're gonna hustle over here. And then I've already practiced this other thing, so we'll get the next trick. And like you're like one step ahead of yourself before you've even done it. Yeah, it's weird to be like getting like you've got a trick, and it's like, okay, they need another like run in or this or that, or maybe you got to do the trick again. You're already thinking about like the next trick that you're gonna go film in 20 minutes. It's like, yeah, it's just like it's one of those things where you've just put yourself there, and you've kind of like you've come to terms with all the other mental aspects of it, of like the risk and the whatever, the you know, the practicing and breaking down the trick and this and that. It's like in the moment you're just like let's just get it done. Do
you have like a memory as a kid, or do you have any reference of a time where you really had like a hurdle in front of you mentally of like, I don't want to do this, or like this is gnarly, but then you kind of pulled the trigger, and it almost acted as like a I don't know, like maybe that moment proved to you that you could then use that system, whatever you just did, to overcome that one thing on everything going forward. It's like it just unlocks something in your psyche, because I think a lot of people get like, I'd say I'd still be stuck on that, you know, like there's just stuff where I'm like, you know, fuck it, I'm not, it's just not, it's not, I'd love to do some of that stuff, probably have the skill, but mentally it's just, I'm not going to cross that threshold, you know. It's like, is there a time where you do it and then you're like, okay, I can do this?
Yeah. I don't think I've had like one big hurdle, but like I still have small hurdles all the time of like just like little things of like, it's like you understand it a bit more, like you can kind of like go into situations a bit more confident. But yeah, just like little things. And, you know, there was times where I was competing and it was like, you kind of just realize like, oh, if I just do this one little extra thing, all of a sudden I'm like competitive again. And you come over that hurdle of like, can I even compete? And then it's like, all of a sudden you realize you can win the event. And then it's like the mindset changes completely going to the next event, because you're like, I've got the skills. Like, and it's like you've switched your focus to like, am I gonna am I going to just play it safe, or do I'm like, I've just changed my mind to like, no, like it's like, I've got the ability to win. I'm just going to fully go for it. Like there's no point trying to do a safety run at this point. And that like changes your perspective of like, the risk is kind of like you've put that aside because you've already committed to like going to 100% of your abilities. And then, yeah, there's just so many little things of like little preparation things and putting yourself in the right situation that just kind of help make things a little bit more simple or like fluid when you're actually doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, I still learn things all the time. I'm just like, how have I not been doing this for years? And it's just like the smallest little things. But yeah, definitely, there's definitely been moments. I'd say in like the big thing for me was always like when I made the decision to kind of like really put the effort, like kind of like commit to being a professional athlete, was like taking the gray area away, like
half in, half out. Maybe.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it's like I've assumed the risk. Like I know what I'm in for, but looking at it like, okay, like, hey, what if I decided not to be a professional mountain biker anymore? What does my life look like? And I'm like, well, I'd be doing something else, and I'd probably still be riding my bike at a very high level because it's just what I love to do. So I'm like, do I just ride my bike at a high level and all I need to do is give it an extra 10% and all suddenly like I get to ride my bike for a career? And it's like that 10% can be really hard because it's like that 10% is all the stuff you don't want to do and all the risks that you don't want to take. But it's like the like risk versus reward part of it is like I literally get to live the life like I dreamed of. And, like it's just such a like rare opportunity. Like how many people get to kind of like travel around with their friends and just like, I don't need to go to work. I can just hang out and ride with my buddies all day. Like, this is amazing. Like the lifestyle is just like, it was worth it. It was like that extra 10% I can live with. And then like, once you've kind of like that was probably the biggest stepping stone for me in terms of just being like, I'm a professional athlete. And once I've just like come to terms with that, it's like, okay, well, there's no like, I've already committed. Like there's no questions asked when I'm like, I show up to Rampage. It's like, I've assumed the risk. It's like, I'm here for a reason. Like I'm going to try and do really well. Like, and I'm going to build to my abilities, or like maybe find the limit in areas, or like do something that I've just kind of recently started doing, or like, keep it interesting. But I'm not going there like middle of the event. Like, what am I doing? Yeah. Why am I here? This is like, it's like, I know why I'm here. There's a reason.
Yeah. And I think it's such a good way to put it too, because it's like, if you're going to just leave work on a Thursday afternoon at 4:30 and you're racing to get your bike and then get to the bike park and then you're like putting your gloves and then you get to the top, like that's probably more risky because 100%. You're still going to do the trick. You're still going to try and you're in that environment. You're probably going to be out. It's way more risky to be unprepared for that and live a life where you're not, taking the steps that actually makes.
You're like, I've been off my bike for 4 days and I'm still going to go ride at like 80-90% of the ability that I ride at now.
Yeah.
It's like, and like you look at it, it's like when me and my buddies go and ride, like even just like riding a trail.
Yeah, like it's fucking serious. Like you're sending.
We're like like you because you kind of get everyone going. It's like a little bit faster, a little bit faster, and it's like by the end you're just like kind of sending it.
Yeah.
And it's like we would ride like this, and this is just like
random day.
Yeah, random day, middle of the afternoon. We're just out there for a fun ride, and it's like we would be doing this if we had day jobs too.
It's so true, eh? Like because even doing the stuff for World Vets this year, like this is the first time I've ever. Like I'm pretending I'm a professional motorbike rider for like a year basically. And I'm like, I'm a podcaster on the side. And like the difference in the level of confidence I have and the fitness side of things, like you can just go and do an hour, 2 hours on the bike of like hard, purposeful, actual training. And my whole life before that was what I said, like, fuck, I'm racing. Yeah, I've left my helmet padding at home. I'm putting socks in my fucking helmet to ride. And it's like, bro, you suck. Like, there's a reason that you suck. Like, you can't be good under these circumstances. And then the things that make you better are the things you never wanted to do.
Yeah.
you know,
Totally.
and it's, that's just a brilliant way to say it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just the, you know, consistency of it. And then like that muscle memory is just like fresh, and you're just always doing it. It's like, you feel so much better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just, because I think I say it all the time on here, but you always look at people, they're so gifted. That's what it looks like when you see the finished product, when you see Brandon Semenuk in his final form.
I would
Super
not say
Saiyan
that.
Brandon Semenuk, you know. But it's like, it's just this process of like a lifetime of work.
Yeah. No, for sure. And like, honestly, I like, whatever, when, you know, there's an upcoming kid or someone that's like aspiring to do something in whatever their sport is, and they're like, like, well, what were the steps you took? And I'm like, oh, you're just like talented. I'm like, dude, no. Like I always thought everyone else around me was talented, but I understand the work they put in as well. But I'm like, dude, I feel like I was like the least talented, but I just got crazy about it. Like, I was so OCD about just like being on my bike and like having like structure and like always have something to work on. And I was like, literally anyone can do this. Like anyone can make this happen for themselves. And it's like, you might not do it the same as someone else, but you can do it in your own way, and you can gain a skill that's like, you know, incredible to many other people that wouldn't understand it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I'm not talented, dude. Like the amount of battles I have with myself, like on the daily, is just like, you know, I'm just like, I feel like I suck at biking most of the time, to be honest.
Which is crazy to think. I think with you though, one thing I've always loved about your riding, and I mean, I've watched pretty much, I'd say, most of the shit you've done, like through your career, you know, and I would always get a sense from you. And then that's why I was so stoked to meet you at Farm Jam, because I had such a picture of you in my mind over years of like watching your riding, and especially like watching you compared to everybody else. Like, you were kind of on an island. Not that you're antisocial, although you're not friends with people.
I'm definitely a quieter person, and I'm very like, you know, I'm an individual. Like, I feel like I've always like, you know, I have my groups, but I also am all good to go just do things by myself. But yeah, for sure. Like, I can see how people, that's the perspective, right?
Yeah, and I think that sort of, it more just come across to me as like thoughtful. Like, you were just very thoughtful and very meticulous, and like everything that you did. And I think because I was coming from the film world, I'd always watch your projects, and I'm like, this guy has to know about the filming. Like, this isn't just a dude that's riding into frame. Like, this is orchestrated. Like, everything is orchestrated. And then even in Balancing Act, there's like a shot of you with doing like this like tabo, and it's like the positioning of your elbow and hand. It's like, I look at that and I'm like, okay, he wanted his elbow to be on his hip, and he wanted his hand to be on his other hip, and like that had to be square. Like, that's how I'm looking at that from your perspective. And then like meeting you in Farm Jam, I was like, God, he is that guy. Like, he is that. He's just thinking his way. Like, this is a very personal project for him. Like, that tabletop, I don't even know if you guys call it a tabletop.
Yeah, like one-hand tabs or whatever it was. Yeah.
So like, I'm like, that's a personal project. That's not like a tabletop to him, one-handed tabletop, like that he's doing to look cool. Like, that's a personal, intentional mission that he went on to get that particular shot on that particular jump in that particular way. Yeah,
for the 3-second clip. You know, but you know, I'm definitely like, I'm in my head a lot with all that stuff, but I'm also like such a nerd about the sport. Like I like certain tricks and I like them a certain way, and then I want to be doing them a certain way. Like, if it's not right, then I'm like, okay, give me another. I'm like, it's like, I know the difference between like what 90% looks like and what 100% is. And it's like, you always just want that extra 10% of like, oh, that was the one. Like, I had it, I held it, my arm was there, my hand was out at the same time. And it was just like, it feels so good when those things come together, but it is also like insane when you look back and you're like, dude, we just put so much. Like, we built this whole feature and we like spent like the entire day just getting this one trick, and we like waited for the light, and I did the trick 10 times to get it just perfect, or whatever, sometimes 50 times, whatever it is. And it's like, literally we just got 3-second clip. Yeah. You know, but it seems like that's for you though. But it is for me. And that's the thing, as I look at it, I'm like, like if anyone was to look at this from like a business perspective, like this is ridiculous.
Yeah, this does not make
sense. But for
sense.
me, I'm like, that just like made me feel whole as a person.
Yeah. All right. So do you then, knowing that about yourself, do you think on why you're like that? Because I think about that with me in similar situations. I'm like, why the fuck do I care? Like, why am I like, why does this fill my cup? This is very weird.
It is weird. To be honest, like that's a hard thing to answer. I don't really know why, but I have those same thoughts of being like, why did I just go through this? Yeah. Like that was just so unnecessary. Like, did I really need to like do that or whatever it was? Like, did I have to build the feature so that it was like a little bit cooler than just going to something that existed? Did I have to like do the trick 3 more times because I wanted like these extra angles, or I wanted it to be a little better, or whatever it is? But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's nice to just feel like you have like a purpose. Like you're like, at least you know what you want.
Yeah.
But that's as far as I've gotten.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, I could just be like whatever about it and not, I guess a little bit of it to me is like, I get really inspired by other athletes, like number of sports. Like there's people I look at and like, they kind of give me the energy to go do my sport. And I feel like I want to give that back a bit too. I'm like, I feel like if I can give everyone my 100%, like maybe I'll give someone else that like really, you know, positive energy and like motivation to go just do something they love.
That happens for sure. Like I've had that effect from your shit.
I appreciate that,
dude. Because that's 100%.
I would say that's definitely a big factor of like why I do this stuff. I'm like, sometimes it's just like you're in the trenches and you're with your buddies and you're just like, why are we doing this? Is this just like we're just like killing ourselves over whatever? And then when it comes out and then like you could just tell people get fired up and it's like someone else might, you know, be like, I've seen Bierman put like a boner log at Imagination the other year and we were like, that's mountain bike feature, that's sick. You know, and just stuff like that where you're like, I don't know. It's cool to kind of see it translate to like other people's, you know, their sports, or like maybe you could see that they interpreted it a little different and then like they took from it and like, you're like, yes, like that's awesome. That's like that, like I get that from you guys and like it's nice to feel like I give back a little bit. So I feel like that's me wanting to give my 100% because I want to give people like the absolute best I can, so that when it's perceived in like the way where I feel like I did adjust it.
Of what you wanted as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because and I mean, I think that with the podcast too, like it's super unnecessary. Like so much of the shit that I've done like over the last like 5 years with it. And so many people, you know, like you walk in here and I'm like, fuck, sorry, bro. Like, it's pretty shit. Like, and everyone's like, oh, it looks all right. But you have that vision, and it'd be the same thing with you with stuff that you're doing. Yeah. To everyone else, you're like, fuck yeah, got the shot. And you're like, nope, that ain't it. Yeah. You know, but I think that's what art is in a sense, you know. And I've taken like, even when I watch your like balancing act, for example, like I sent that to my production dude, like lead at home. Sick. I'm like, this is fucking sick. Like this is so sick. It's not high production in the sense that there's 30 dudes and there's 30 cameras and there's fucking call times and this is what you get with like a really talented group of a small talented group of people that really give a fuck. Yeah.
And they all understand each other. Yeah. Like that was like,
everyone's got the goal. Like everyone knows what we're making.
Yeah. Well, we didn't actually, like it was like, that was like real run and gun style. Like we had like Nick who filmed and edited it, and then Toby was photographer. And then like, you know, we had like kind of friends come in and help in like certain little bits as like things were going on. But like in the heart of it, it was like us three. And then like obviously like on either ends of the sports, I had like Keaton Williams, my co-driver, and then Evan Young and Justin Wiper, who are helping me dig at Rampage. Like they're all like characters in the story and they're helping, you know, in certain ways. But it was like, so just to go back to the start of that thing, like pre-Rampage, all that, like it's like September, or it's like coming into September, and there's like the second last rally of the year. And there was a chance that I could win the championship. So I'm like, I was just chilling with Nick one day, and I was like, hey, would you want to come to the rally, like, and just film it, like, if I win, it'd be kind of cool just to document it. And like, I don't know what that means. Like,
I don't know if this lives.
Does it go anywhere? Or is it just like for the memory banks or whatever? I was just like, I just feel like it would be ridiculous not to capture this moment, because the championship was just so wild that year. Like how close the battles were and where the points were. And I was like going into this event, and I've never done the event before. And I was like, it's literally going to be like checkers or wreckers, like 100%.
We have to send and finish,
full
or
send.
It's done.
Yeah, and then so whatever, we went, and it didn't go to plan. Like we didn't win the championship. I did crash the car.
Dude, that crash too. You crashed like probably 400 yards before the corner.
Like, oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
You just started shifting gears, and the car's just going.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're gone, bro. See ya.
Yeah, and just like stupid, like it's all like bedrock on the inside of the turn, and it was just like all the gravel kind of got swept onto it, and it was like, I was like, you know, it was just like one of those dumb crashes. You're just like understeering. You're like, I'm hopeless. Like I'm just on this. You know
what
like,
it looked like? You know, in Mario Kart,
the banana peel.
It's just like as soon as you started going down the gears, you started going faster.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, oh, you're fucked.
Like,
you ain't bringing that back.
Brakes aren't doing anything right now. Yeah. So it was like that didn't go well, whatever. And then it was like, I don't know, like, well, I guess if I do the last rally, you should come to that one too, because we could still win the championship. But we didn't know what balancing act was. And then at the same time, there was like another film project going on that I was trying to put together. And then that kind of got like pulled out from underneath me.
So is that where the riding came into it?
So that riding stuff in the yard was just like,
as just a bit of it.
It was
to get the project going, or was that another project?
It was either going to be a part of the project we were going to work on, or just like it was for something else we were working on. But it was also just like, I felt like some people probably didn't get that part of it, where like there was like the riding in the yard, but that was just like kind of that moment in time where all this stuff was getting kind of like deciphered. Like what am I doing? Like what are we working towards? Like, you know. Yeah, there was just so much going on, and I just felt like that was that weird moment of like, I just was like at home riding my bike. It was like, you know, this really like, you know, all the homies around. It was really mellow, like everything's like kind of calm before the storm. Yeah, you know, it was just calm. Like, it was like that was like the calm moment, and then it just like progresses to like the most intense, you know, week essentially, because that was like that all happened like, you know, within weeks of like the next, you know, stint of like the rallies and Rampage and whatever was going on. But anyways, the film project got pulled underneath me, and then it was sort of like I was in a bit of a tricky position, because I was like, oh, like, you know, rally, Rampage, I have my opportunity to win my first American Rally Championship. You know, it would be like, it seems ridiculous to like pass up that. It's just like, it's like one of those things like.
But then Rampage is like one of the biggest things for you.
And it's like, it's a big event, and I want to be there, and yeah, it's just like, it's just a hard one to be like, I'm not there, you know? And so anyways, like the film project was sort of like another element. I was like, well, this is like conflicting with everything. As well.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've got like all this stuff going on in like a 3-week period essentially. And then the film project got pulled, and I was just like, well, if I don't have like this film project, and you know, the film project would have been a little easier because I had time to get to the rally after the film project. But Rampage, like there was this conflict, and then I just like the film project went away, and then I started to break it down. I was like, can I do both the rally and Rampage? And I was like, I literally sat down for a whole day, and I was like, I looked at like the stage schedules and like the Rampage schedule, and I was like trying to do all the math with flights and like time change, and I was like, okay, can we do this? And I was like, got to a point where I'm like, I realized it wasn't possible unless we did a charter from Utah to Michigan. So then it was like, okay, how much does a charter cost? Like, is this what I need to do to really do this? And then it was like,
how much was it?
It was a lot.
Okay.
I don't have the money to do it again.
Yeah.
It was more than that.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. And it was like,
shit.
And it was like a ship. Like, I wouldn't say it was a ship plane, but it was like,
it wasn't a fucking Gulfstream.
No, it had propellers. Like it was like,
my bag was on my lap. Yeah. And it had propellers.
Exactly. Yeah, no, like it was, I mean, it was cool. Like, I'm like, sweet. It's cool to say that I checked that box. Like, that'll never happen again. But it was also like, this is like, I could win Rampage, and I'm not going to pay for this thing. It was really just about like doing it.
You have to do it, yeah.
I was like, I can't miss the rally. like I would just kick myself for that. Like just not knowing, like I was kind of going to the rally being like, this is a new event for me. The driver I'm competing against, Ken Block,
is the fucking man.
Is like the man, like, and he did this rally last year and won it. And I'm like, I'm going in this rally. I have no experience. And he's just won the last few rallies. And like, I'm probably not going to beat him. Like the reality is like I'm so like handicapped here, but like, I would hate to not know like what would have happened. Right. It's like, I got to do the rally.
Especially now.
Yeah. And then, so I kind of broke it down. We figured it out, and then it was just like, we're doing it. This was like literally like 2 weeks before it was all going down. It was like, it's happening. And then I was like, Nick, you in? And then like my buddy Toby, he was in New Zealand with us. Toby Cowley, photographer. Such a man. But he was like, can I just come? Like, well, there's 4 seats on the plane, so yeah, it doesn't cost me any more. And he's like, he just like, and it was just like him, like, and again, like the best friends ever, like, most talented dude in the world. You know, he was like literally like, I realize this is just you just like doing it, and like we don't know if there's any funding for this project or if this is even a project at this point. Yeah. He's like, but I'll just come do it for free. Like he's like, I got to document this. And we're like, yes, perfect. And then we just pulled the trigger on that, and you know, the rest is kind of history at that point. But it was, like I said, there was no plan for this stuff. Like balancing act was literally just like, well, let's go to this rally and see if we get some clips. And then, okay, let's go to the next rally and see if like I win the championship or not. And then, well, you're already with me, and we already have a plane going to Rampage. So you might as well come to Rampage and just film that too. It was kind of just like,
it was crazy the way that an amazing product can come out of that though.
Yeah, but sometimes that's what you got to do is like, it's so hard to plan that stuff, right? Like sometimes you got to just like take that risk and be like, hey, this is just like a pretty crazy situation. We might get something really cool if we just, you know, invest the time, invest the money. And then, we got like a really cool piece out of it at the end of the day, and like captured that like insane moment.
And it's beautiful too, like to do what you did in both places, and then obviously like with Ken passing, like for you to get a chance to, you know, beat a fucking legend of a guy, you know, and like just such a, you know, that's obviously like bittersweet, you know, but I'm sure
I mean, the thing is like, I was just so stoked to be racing with those dudes, you know. I'm just like, this is like,
Pastrana too, like Pastrana.
Yeah, exactly. And we were all battling all year, and it was just like, but just for me, I'm like, I'm still there. Like, obviously we're competing for this championship, and everyone's like, you know, like
competition.
Everyone's competition. We're all like obviously having a good time. We're all friends, but like it's serious. Like we are like literally like trying to find tents on each other, just like doing like psycho stuff, like debriefs with the team being like, what's the next move? What are we doing? Like, we need more performance. And then, but for me, like, I'm still like, how am I in this situation? Like, I just liked rally, but I never ever thought like I'd be here with these dudes racing them, never mind for like battle them for the championship. Yeah. And I'm like, that's just such a cool moment for me, win or lose, that like I got to even like put up a fight with these guys. So
and it's so outside the scope of what you've done. You know, like you cross country racing, like you raced cross country as a kid, but you know, like to compete in the American Rally Championship against Ken Block and Travis Pastrana and all the other savages, like there's not really much precedent in your life for that.
No,
you know,
not at all. Like, you know, I don't come from a wealthy family. Like I said, ski bums. We lived in Whistler, high school dropout, and like, you know, like it's not like a sport you just kind of like fall into. No. It's like you gotta like you invest in it, and you have to be really like, you know, put in the time to be like, oh, this is what I'm doing. Like, I'm going to rally, and I'm going to gain this experience, and I'm going to go to these events. And it's like, it's a dedication, just like mountain biking is, or like, it's like, like we were saying, like taking the moto out. It's like, it's work. Like you go ride, but it's like the bike needs maintenance, and, you know, you're driving to the tracks, you're driving to the events. Yeah, exactly. It's like, and rally's like pretty serious like that, especially as a privateer.
The heaviest lift.
Yeah. And if you don't have like a team behind you, especially like as a privateer, like connecting with the right people that can kind of help you. And now like as a factory team, it's like, it's obviously like a huge effort on like, there's, you know, 20 people involved or whatever it is. But then it gives me the infrastructure to go and battle with those dudes. So,
bro, just like completely stop the conversation and just think about how dope it is to be driving a blue Subaru in rally. Like that is
crazy, yeah.
Iconic. There's probably, as far as rally goes and motorsport maybe in general, there's probably not a more iconic look than a blue Subaru with the yellow. Like that's crazy.
That's what got me interested in it. You know?
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I would say like Subaru, you know, like just seeing like Richard Burns, Colin McLean, yeah, you're just like, these are like, it's just like, this is mountain biking with 4 wheels. I'm like, this shit is so cool. And then Subaru, Team Canada Subaru was like, lived really close to me, or like that, the home of it was like a half hour away. And they would be up around Whistler or Pemberton, like where we rode the mountain bikes. And I would see the blue Subarus racing in the hills. And I'm just like, this is like, now I'm seeing in real life, this is crazy. And I was like hooked. This is like before I had a license, you know. I was like, well, rally's cool.
So that's how far back
cool.
it goes.
Yeah.
You're interested in rally.
Like I was like, and then at that point, I'm like, well, I'll never get to do this. But I was like so interested in it. And then it was like, I had a little bit of free cash to spend, and what am I going to do with it? Okay, I'm going to buy a production rally car. Like, let's just give me the bare bones rally car.
How much is that worth?
They're probably like, it was like $30,000 for like a race ready, like, and it was a good production car.
That's not that crazy. A stock van costs 20 grand.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, well, that was the thing. It was like, yeah, it was just like an older car. They had it at the shop. It was used for like, you know, reconnaissance at like rallies, and they're just like, okay, we'll put it,
like a pre-runner type.
We'll put a cage in it, and we'll, you know, throw some parts at it, and you're good to go. You can start racing.
And so that was your first experience with rally. Is like you were so into it that you just dumped 30 grand into a car and was like, I'm fucking see if I can drive this thing.
Pretty much, yeah.
Did you drive any before or?
No.
That's sick.
So I bought like a stock Subaru. Okay. I was like, yeah, okay. Like I had like a minivan, and I was like, okay, the minivan's done. I need a car. And I was like, I won a contest or I got some money from contests that year. And I was like, hey, I got a little bit of money to play with. And I bought a Subaru. And then of course it's like, I bought it at the end of the year. It's winter time, and I'm like rallying it and just crashing it into snowbanks, and like just being like a, you know, stupid 16, 17-year-old. Yeah. But I was like, I was into it, you know, I loved it. And then the next spring I was just some friends, I think this was even before I was on Red Bull, but some friends that I was riding with Stevie Smith a lot, my good friend. Yeah. He passed away tragically, but you know, the man, like we rode a bunch that year, and he had just got on Red Bull, and then the kind of the team manager, sports marketing, the two dudes there at Red Bull were just kind of like around a bunch, and they were like hanging with Stevie, and they were doing some stuff. So I was like kind of hanging with them. They're just like really rad dudes. And they were like talking to me like, oh, you just bought the Subaru. Like you should go to, you know, this rally shop in Squamish. I just moved to Squamish, and that's why they brought it up. I'm like, you should go meet this guy, Pat. He's, you know, like whatever, 5-time Canadian national champion and 2-time American national champion. And he's, you know, crazy rally dude, and they got Subarus. Cool, sweet. Just moved to town. Like literally that week I moved to town. I like drove there, walked in the shop. I'm like, hey Pat, you know, Jameson told me to come chat with you or whatever, just say hi. And I was like, I was just kind of curious to check out the shop. And he's like, showed me around, showed me the rally cars, got to see the factory car. And I was like, well, this is super cool.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, like what do you drive? He's like, you had a rally car? I'm like, no, I've got like a, you know, 2006 STI that, you know, it's fun. I love it, but it's not a rally car. Like, he's like, yeah. He's like, well, if you ever need a rally car, like, let me know. I'm like, cool. Like, and he's like, and I started to like question him, like, well, what does that cost? What does it look like? And I'm like, how do you get into it? And he kind of gave me the rundown, and he's like, honestly, dude, he's like, if you're really into it, he's like, I'll take that car you have outside and I'll trade you a rally car. And I'm like, done. I literally just handed him the keys right then and there.
No.
I was like, perfect. Straight trade. And I was like, you know, that's history. And he knew it. He's like, if this kid's that into it, he's just going to like keep coming back. Like he's going to be around. He's going to want to, you know, build up his car, make it faster, do the whole thing. And like, it's another local person that can come and do, you know, whatever, some rallycross events that are local or some regionals or national events and come with the team. And he saw the future and like how excited I was about it. So obviously I blame him a little bit. And then I also give him credit because I was like, you know, for me, I'm like, why did I get into rally?
Yeah,
like,
you fucked my life. Thanks, bro.
Yeah. But at the same time, I'm like, look at this opportunity I've had now. It's like, I wouldn't have started without that meeting, you know, that just like catching up at a local rally shop. But
That's insanely cool.
Yeah, and then to keep going on that story, it makes it even crazier. Is so like obviously they had to build the car, so it took some time. So I didn't get the car till like.
So did he take your car and then turn it into a rally car?
No,
or
so
like he gave you another car?
He took my car and he sold it, and he took the money from that and built. He had like a 02 WRX sitting there, so it's like the same shell.
Yeah,
like essentially the car wouldn't be any different other than the components.
Yeah.
But he had an 02 sitting there that he used for like when he did World Rally, like it was like his reconnaissance car. So it was just a stock WRX. So he turned that into a rally car. You know, it was just instead of an STI motor and a WRX motor, instead of a 6-speed gearbox at a 5-speed. But it was like full cage, like nice spec. You know, it was a build that was like something I could evolve. Like you could take it from a production level to a Group N level to an open class level, and it would still be like a good car. So for me, I mean, at the time, like looking back, that was a really good deal. Like I got super lucky. So like, let's say 6 months goes by, the car's ready. And then kind of like around that time, like my really good friend, Alex Pro, who I rode with, professional mountain biker at the time, he lived across from this like chalet, just like big bed and breakfast type thing. And like him and his dad are kind of like, oh yeah, the dude across the street, he was pretty into motorsports. He used to race a bit or whatever, this and that. Oh, cool, whatever. Didn't really think much of it. And then I was at Crankworx that summer, and there was one of the PR communications guys at SRAM, super into rally, like love Subarus, love rally. And they were staying at the chalet, and he literally like saw me, and his like eyes were like lit up. He's like, dude, just come with me right now. And I'm like, he's like, stop what you're doing. I'm like, dude, I got practice or something, you know? He's like, no. He's like, you've got 20 minutes. Let's go to the chalet. And whenever we like rolled to the chalet, he's like, you got to meet this guy. His name's Martin. Super cool, super into rally. Like, you should talk to him. Like, walk up the stairs of the B&B. It's like mantle. It's like world rally champion, British national champion, this and that. And I'm like, where are we? Like, this is crazy. And it's like, Martin Rowe, like, how's he going? No. And like, shit, this is like the dude. Like, he was, you know, he won championship with Subaru Motorsports and World Rally like 2003, like, you know, at such a like crazy era for rally.
Yeah.
And anyways, like we kind of kicked it off, and he like gave me a bunch of DVDs with like his in-car and this and that. And he's like, you're getting a rally car? He's like, the day you get it, you let me know and we'll go drive. I'm like, perfect. I'm like, I couldn't sit with anyone like to show me how to do it. Like, couldn't sit with a better person, you know? So like literally got the car, drove from Squamish to Whistler, and it was like construction on the highway at that time. So I was like stopping and just stealing pylon cones.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just like filled the back of the car with pylon cones, and then like drove past his place, picked him up, and then we drove like a little further to like kind of like we went out there to like a road that's like it's kind of dead ends, and then it has like a big lot at the end, and we set up the cones. And so it was kind of like a small little like gravel rally stage into like a little rally cross, and you can loop it around and then come back and do it again.
Yeah.
And we just drove, and we like literally just went out there and just drove like, you know, we had a full tank, and we just drove till it was like basically empty. And like he kind of showed me what to do, and then he sat in and he kind of showed me how it was done. And it was just like, this is, you know, I couldn't have learned a better way. Like instead of learning bad habits, it's like the dude's like, this is how you do it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then so we were like, yeah, whatever, we're almost out of fuel. Okay, let's get out of here. Kind of rallied back on this road because we've been driving it all day. And we come out, like kind of come up over this crest. And like, as we get to the top of the crest, we could see like a cop car driving away. And like, I stop, reverse down the hill. And I'm like, it's a rally car. You can't see anything behind you. So I kind of like tried to reverse up this like little fork in the road. So like we'd be like hidden. And I like lost a wheel in the ditch. So we got like half stuck. Like we were a bit high centered. I'm like, crap. Like, hopefully you didn't see us. No. They flip around and come back. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, we're just playing around.
Just rallying at the speed limit?
Yeah, exactly. We're just like playing around in the lot. Like, we're like, there's no line to these dudes. We're just playing around in the little lot back here. And they're like, okay, cool. And it was like a girl and a guy cop. And they're like an SUV cop car. And we're like in the middle of nowhere. Like, what are you doing? Like, there's literally no one here. Like, what are you guys doing back here? So they must have saw us and whatever. They let us go.
They're up to.
Yeah, but we drive out and like she gets out and she gets in her cop car and they like go off. And we're like, okay, that was lucky. But Yeah, that was like just another level of like how fortunate I've been to have like good mentors kind of point me in the right direction like early enough before I'd kind of make stupid mistakes.
Dumb mistakes and crash shit. And,
totally. So
what'd you do in the 6 months before? Like, so you knew you're going to have this block where you like wouldn't have a car, but you were going to have a rally car. Like, what do you do in between to get ready for owning a rally car?
Yeah, I mean, nothing really. I think I still had a go-kart at the time. So I was doing a little bit of karting. Like when I had a little bit of free time, there was a track not too far from me.
Yeah.
And I just kind of like jet out there. And so I like...
Did you do any sim stuff or?
No, definitely not. Yeah.
Is it just not a thing in
It wasn't
rally?
really like it. I guess like there's like Richard Burns Rally, which was like, it was actually like a really good game at the time, but I never had any of that. It just didn't really exist. And then, I don't know, just kind of rally the whatever I was driving at the time, a little pickup truck or something, and just we're shuttling and we kind of just like have fun up the gravel roads, you know, like as you would as a young kid in a logging town, right? Like it was just like that was rally to us, and then it was like a rally car was just like the next level of it. Yeah, right. So I didn't really know, like I didn't really know much about it at the time. I was just really into motorsport.
And it wasn't something where you were like, okay, I want to be good at this, I want to race, you just wanted to scratch the itch.
I just wanted to do it. It just looked fun. Yeah,
that's fucking cool.
That was it, yeah.
That's such a crazy story of like getting into something that you became so good at.
And it was just like I had no anticipation of it being like that. I was like, I just want to go play around.
Just pure.
I honestly, I got the car and I was like, I don't even want to race. I just want to have a car to go like block some road with some friends and be able to go play around for like 30 minutes and just experience it. Like that was really it. I was like, I don't really even want to be at an event. That doesn't interest me. And then like obviously it snowballed over time because I was like, this is really good. But yeah, it was like, and then all of a sudden like, you know, I've got like Pat Richard and Martin Rowe, and then later on like Antoine Lestage, who's like 10-time Canadian Rally Championship, multi-time American Rally Championship. You know, like all these dudes, like the best people in North America that I could lean on. They're all like willing to give me advice and like point me in the right direction, or like, you know, like I got to sit in with, you know, I unfortunately never got to sit in with Pat, but I got to sit in with Martin and Antoine, and then these guys are like literally I'm sitting in a factory car and it's like you get firsthand like experience of what these cars can do. You're like, okay, so when I get in my car, this is what I need to be doing. This is how it needs to be driven. And it's just like, you know, the light bulb turns on and you're like, okay, cool. Like that's what I need to figure out now.
That's a crazy thing to be able to do. Like the last couple of years I was a Ducati ambassador in Australia. Yeah. Like I'd never done any road stuff, right? And so they were like, I had a few bikes through them and I did a couple track days and I'm like, this is fucking cool. Like I love this. This is very fun. And so something I never thought I'd do. And then Jack Miller took me on the back of it and I was like, what you said about this is what it can do. Well, first of all, I was like, I could never actually do this, but like it was like a gateway into a different fucking dimension that opened up, because there was no possible way from watching that from the outside and seeing that bike go past and seeing it go through a turn that I could have actually conceived physically what that feels like in real time.
That is the only way to experience it.
I bet that's the way that rally felt with those guys.
100%. You're like, this is literally the only, like I could watch these dudes go all day. I could watch their in-car. I could do anything, like, but like sitting here is like, whoa, like this is the experience.
Yeah. And just like, I can imagine you looking at like seeing a bump down the road or seeing and being like, nah, and then just
you're like trying to hit the brakes from your side of the car.
And then when you hit it, and then when you hit the ground and then you make the turn, you're like wait, what? Yeah. Like when Jack was going through turn, the first time he really leaned through a tight turn, you know, like when you're leaning back on a chair, and then you get that. Like, that's what every I'm gonna fall. That's what every single turn feels like. And they're just the level, like, and I wonder, I'm like, how do you figure that out the first time? Yeah. Like, how do you know
break that barrier of like, this is possible?
Yeah. And I imagine that's what that experience in the rally car was like when you're with those guys. It's like, this is crossing over into this is what's possible dimension.
It's just like, you turn that switch in your brain and you're like, okay, like this stuff. Yeah. Like this is fully doable. This is rally. That was when I was like, realized what rally was. And I was like, yeah, I'm about it.
And how, like, you picked it up quick?
No, I wouldn't say quick. I mean, so I got that car 2009, 2010, and I raced as a privateer for about 10 years.
Really?
And then the Subaru Motorsports opportunity came up, the COVID year.
Yeah.
So even when we were in New Zealand, like that, I didn't know that opportunity existed yet. Like it was like I had maybe just started talking to them, and it was sort of like, it was so far-fetched. Like I was kind of like, my name was in the hat with a bunch of other drivers, and they were like still not sure like if that was going to be the look of the program anyway. So I was like, I probably didn't even say anything about it, because I was just like,
I don't think I knew.
I was like, this isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And then it happened on obviously the worst year it could have. Like, I got this amazing opportunity, and then it was like, oh my God, now we got like half the events, and now we don't get to do the testing and this and that. And so it was like, but my head was in the door, and it was like a good first season regardless. But yeah, it was just like 10 years as a privateer, and I kind of like, I came in and out of the sport because it was like, some years I just got so busy, like I could have a car and I just sold it, because it was like, I literally have no time next year. Like I'm never going to get to drive this thing. So then it'd be like, I didn't even race 1 year or 2 years. And then Pat came and he was like, hey, we have our old factory car and I'll just put it on the trailer. He's like, if you show up to this event, you can drive it. And it'd be like,
that's so
well, sick. I'm not going to say no to an opportunity like that. Like that would cost me so much money. So like, then he kind of like, roped me back in, like, oh, it's so fun. Okay, let's do some more events, you know? And then I'm like, oh, let's build another car. And then I got more into it. And then 2016, 2017, I started doing more events again, like kind of like a half championship. And then in the next year or two, I rented like some faster cars, like, world spec cars, like Rally 2 kind of cars. And then, did some stuff with side-by-side, just as like seat time at home, just like when I could get out for, an afternoon. And I was just like, I was just learning a lot in those few years. And then by the time the Subaru thing came out, it was kind of the right time for me to step up into like a full factory car, like, and be competitive with those guys. I was like, I wasn't going to be competitive yet, but I was like, I needed that next step and push to get there.
Yeah.
So it was like, it all came at a really good time. Yeah.
And where's the mountain bike career at this point? Like, are you, because I think you're probably in the position now where you just sort of can pick and choose and do what you want to do.
Yeah.
But were you in, like, you were able to kind of like mellow out the mountain biking schedule to focus more on rally, or it was always like a balancing act?
Yeah. I mean, people ask that a lot, actually. They're like, oh, like you must be like, you must have to do like so much of the car now that it takes away from the bike. And I'm like, actually, when I was a privateer, I spent way more days.
Because you kind of had to, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'm like with the factory team, like at least now I kind of just like, there's a set schedule. I show up, we do the event, I do what I need to do, and then I leave and I can go back to my mountain bike. It's just like, I'm gone for the weekend, But as a privateer, it was like, I was doing the same amount of events in a year, but I also had to like deal with the car, and I had to deal with like the logistics and getting the car to the event, and like, getting the car fixed and whatever. Like there was like way more days spent like invested in rally as a privateer
than rally.
Yeah. Like I was doing the same amount of events, but I had to do all the other stuff as well. Now it's like, yeah, I'm doing it at a professional level. It looks like I'm like always in the car, this and that, but I'm like, I'm really just showing up for 8 weekends a year to go race. But it's like, yeah, I've got media there, and we've got a team, and there's PR, and there's like, and it's like, it's serious. Like I definitely put more effort into like the notes now, and like I'm, like I'm strategizing and things like that.
Because you have the time now.
And they want me to win.
Yeah.
So it's like, I have the time, and it's because like I'm in this position, and I want to, do it at my best. So, it's actually like, this year was a little crazier because we developed a new car, so there was like a bit more testing and things like that. But I would say like the last 3 seasons with Subaru, like was actually less in the car or less doing rally endeavors than I was as a privateer through like 2017, 2018, 2019.
Yeah, no, it does make sense. Like you've just got more people doing the things that you used to do.
Yeah, I'm not producing my whole program anymore. It's just like I show up as a driver and I do the driver tasks, and there's elements to it that are like more behind the scenes. Like we have debriefs like after the rally, but that's like, in the morning I wake up and we'll have a quick debrief or something. It's things that don't take away from my riding. It's like, or I'm working on notes and I just do it at night. Like after I've been riding all day, I just sit down and work on the notes. It's like, I've got time for it there. It doesn't affect the riding schedule. It doesn't affect my travel. Just like things I can continuously work on, but helps progress in the motorsports world.
Dude, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's been so fun.
You guys put up a clip recently of you in the Polaris.
Yeah.
Bro, I couldn't fucking believe how fast you can rally that thing.
They're insane machines.
What model is it?
That was probably my Pro R, the Polaris RZR Pro R.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't driven it too much lately, and I managed to get, a couple things sorted on it. It's all like seat harnesses, kind of like rally spec.
Yeah.
I just got rally tires on it. Cause I'm the idea of it, it's like seat time. It's just my fun thing. Go out for a few hours. And I was like, man, I was kind of ripping this old moto track in the woods. No one's touched it in a while, and it was good conditions. And I was like, this thing's so fun. And I was like, my buddy Anthony, who's a cinematographer, he was around, and I was like, we should just go shoot this one day. It's really, really fun.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. The machines are wicked. It's crazy. People just buy those things. It's literally a stock machine. I just threw different tires at it and put some harnesses in it, and it's you're good to go.
Yeah, because it was only maybe a week ago or 2 weeks ago that you posted that clip, and I was just that was similar to that moment where I'm like, wait, that's possible. I did not think that you could do that in one of those.
Right.
That made me go, okay, cool. I really want to do that now.
Yeah. It's like dirt biking on a side-by-side. This is so sick.
Yeah. No, I was blown away. And it looked like rally.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Which is crazy.
Just tossing into the corners.
Yeah. And the way that it was it was pitching, you know, it was moving on every axis. It wasn't I don't know, every time I feel like I've driven anything like that, it's so just, you're sliding left to right. You're not pitching the car.
You get the dynamic of the suspension's all loaded in one direction, the car's on an angle.
Because that changes how the car handles, right? And you can use that.
Oh
you
for
can
sure.
use that pitch to slow the car down, and I'm sure that there's a lot in that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's just placing it in the right, positions, but you could set it up you're go to the outside over a jump to set it up for the next corner or whatever you need to do, and then you can be coming over the jump, be on throttle to keep it up, or you hit the brakes, get it down, and load the front for the next turn. And it's the same thing with mountain biking, but you're using your body to make those inputs. Whereas in the machine or the rally car, it's you're just using the wheel and the pedal to create that body movement of the whole machine to get that weight in the right place.
Yeah, no, that was a clue where I was like, damn, I've never so really been that drawn to something, and I watched that. So I guess, dude, that's a great thing about content. That really inspired. I'd never looked at a side-by-side in that way, and it just fully changed my perspective on that. And I was like, wow, I can really see that being something I'd like to do.
Totally. Yeah, and the side-by-side's great too, because it's dude, you literally just I take the thing out and then I just
put it back.
I just park it.
Yeah.
And I take it again. It's the amount of the seat time miles I can get driving like that, which it's just hard to do with a rally car. But in the side-by-side, it's okay, you found this little track, I can drive all day and then just park the thing and good to go. I can take my friends and it's hey, you guys can experience what I like to do with rally, and they sit in, and it's a super fun little outing. We get to go rip around, and then it's just it's cheap seat time. In the grand scheme of things, when the machines are you invest in the machine, but what you can do with it for the period of time is insane.
And how what translates? Does a lot translate?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you try and set the machine up so it I obviously have a good understanding of what the rally car should feel like or will feel like, and then I just try and set up my machine so it's a little bit more like the rally car. Obviously the side-by-sides, the suspension's insane, and it doesn't have the gearbox in it and things like that, but you can get the same feeling in the chassis. And then it's just all the inputs are the same. It's it's just, it translates fairly similar, and you can start to try things that you wouldn't normally have the ability to try in events, because it's obviously you're not trying to lose time, or the tests and things like that. Maybe it's in the rally car at speed, it's maybe a little more risky to be playing with those types of things. But in the side-by-side, you got a little more room for error, and you can just go mess around and try and learn some things. So
it's funny. I didn't have suspension for my bike for a while, so that's Steve's, and so it just had the stock. That's an XCF, so it's the trail bike version.
Nice.
It's not the moto version. So it had the trail bike suspension in it, and I was just going to Parla when it was open. Other tracks aren't open, so it's like I had to go to Parla. Couldn't ride the big track. Like the jumps were just too big to like. I just couldn't actually hit the jumps. So I was like, this is fucking sketchy.
Yeah.
So it made me ride the vet track, which like the forks would still bottom me out a lot, but it was like it sort of gave me side by side vibes compared to a rally car almost, because it ended up being the track's not as rough. The jumps are way more mellow. Everything's easier. Like it made me feel like I was riding my bike and the track, not the bike and the track were riding me.
Totally.
And I had like I honestly feel like I made such a crazy progression. It was like probably 3 weeks where I did one day I did like 4 20-minute motos, like hard as fuck. And then like I went back like 2 days later, another 4, then Saturday, another 4. So I think it was like a week I did 12 20s on this.
Oh my God. But you're probably like maximum every lap. Because you can like the track's like,
And the bike was kind of mellow. The track was kind of mellow.
It took some of the brutalness out of it.
And it let me play.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like what you're saying a little bit with the Polaris is that it's like the consequences aren't as big. The speed's not as fast. Like you're in a box a little bit more.
Yeah.
But in that box you can really move
machine's
around.
Smaller than the rally car, and it's like you got all this travel. So if you hit something, it's like kind of just absorbs it.
Does it have more travel than a rally car?
Yeah.
By a lot.
Like the Pro R has like 29 inches rear travel. It's like psycho. You put the thing up on jacks, and it's like it's still on the ground. You're like you have to like put blocks on the jacks to get it up.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think the rally car, I can't remember what it is. I want to say it's like 17 to 20 inches. It's good travel, but it's
nothing like that's like
it's all like the Polaris is close to double, so it's wild.
Yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, they do. Have you ever heard of the Fink Desert Race in Australia?
No.
Oh, they do. They do a race. It's like a point-to-point race. So you start in Alice Springs, which is like literally the dead center of Australia.
Yeah.
And then I think it's 240 kilometers one way, and then you camp the night, and then you do 240 kilometers back the next day, and it's just like whooped out, like just the gnarliest shit ever. And they do it there's like a side-by-side class.
Yeah, that would be insane.
But man, I look at those like they do the trophy trucks and the buggies and everything out of it, and I'm just like, oof. A lot of travel, but I still don't know if it's enough. Like the way that those trophy trucks hit that shit,
it's really impressive.
Yeah. But the Polarises and stuff, they do Dakar and shit in them. Like it's pretty crazy.
Wild, yeah. I haven't like got to experience too much of the desert dune stuff, but I did like that Red Bull Sand Scramble in Glamis.
Oh, okay.
It's like it was like a waypoint race.
Yeah, okay.
And you just like it was mass start. It was like 35 side by side start at once, all lined up. And you just go, and it's just like you're just like looking for the waypoint. You're trying to like not.
So rally, like that's super Dakar spec, right?
Yeah, it was crazy.
And it
was so fun. I was like kind of like I don't know if I'm like really into this stuff, and then I did it, and I was like, that was super sick.
Could you see now that you've won 2 American Rally Championships? Do you have any kind of progression? I'm right there too, right?
Yeah.
Can you see a progression? Like, do you want to go to World Rally? Does Dakar stuff interest you? Like, do you have other stuff now? Because I think that's probably the beauty of 4 wheels is that, with age comes a cage. Like, it's something that you can do for a really long time.
Yeah. I never really thought of it that way, obviously, like when I started, but I'm like, now it's like there's definitely like longevity in it and like what you can do with there's so many like avenues, just like any sport, but yeah, it's like there's like I don't need to be I could be injured and be in the car and still be able to drive it at a high level, which is like it's nice to have that option. But it's tough. Like I love like stage rally. Like I'm not like super excited like to go to like rallycross or like desert racing. Like those are all things I would love to experience, but it's like my heart's not like 100% there where I'm like, that's like the avenue I want to like chase.
Yeah.
Like I like just like proper rally.
What is it like? Because I can imagine with your brain that you like the perfection.
There's never perfection. That's a problem. There's like, it's just,
that's probably why you like it.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, it's more similar to mountain biking where, you don't really run into the same terrain over and over. Like every pass of every stage is different. Like the stages change, and then you might go from, you might do one pass of a road, but when you go back for the second pass, it's a different road. Like you're constantly adjusting, and like you're using that intuition to kind of like, and skill and knowledge and like what you know about like finding the grip and finding the line, and like it's just like you're always adjusting. So there's that, like, I like the variability of it. Like it's never the same thing. Like going around a circuit over and over, like it's really fun. Like I like karting. It's so hard. It's so fun. But like after you've done a lap of the track a million times, you're like, you start to drive yourself crazy because you're just like, you're trying to search for this like little tenth, and it's like, it can just drive you mad. Whereas like rally, it's like,
it's available. There's tenths available.
There's tenths available, but then there's so many other areas where you can be like strategic, or, like you can look at the event as a whole and be like, well, I'm not just doing 5 miles. I'm going to be doing 120 miles. And like, there's going to be, it might rain, it might be dry, there might be tire wear involved, this and that. And you can start to strategize. And then there's risky things. They're like, that's a big jump. Do I hit it flat? That's a big water crossing. If I hit it flat, I'm going to gain time, but I could break the car. And then like, you can start to pick apart like areas where you can make bigger margins. Like, and then I think I like those bits. And then like the fact that you kind of go into it just like a mountain bike trail. Like I know the trail because I've like done the work, but like you don't really know how it's going to be. Yeah. And for me, that's more exciting, is just like something that's kind of always changing.
I feel like just in this conversation, just for me to like psychoanalyze a little bit, it seems like there's a thing that you enjoy about having to prepare for something, and like the benefits that you get from preparation, and like being a nerd and like, because I'm like that. Like I love the nerdiness of things. I love pausing a video. Like theoretically, every time I pause a video of me riding, I should be in the right position. It doesn't matter where you are on the track. Like press pause, you're right, wrong, okay, cool. Like that it's infinite,
Totally.
So it seems like there's a part of you that loves to just like drill into the minutia and do the work and get an advantage there. But then it also seems like that's only fun for you if there's then a moment of intuition that has to come into play to pull it off.
Yeah. I think it's a bit of everything for sure. But no, I would say like I definitely, it's not like I'm like I want to do the work. It's like I literally have this feeling of like I need to do the work, because I don't like the feeling of showing up to something that I'm like really
unprepared,
really passionate about, unprepared. Yeah. Like I'm like, hey, I'm here to do my best. I want to make sure that I give myself the best opportunity to do that. So even like the Rampage thing last year, like my biggest struggle with that event was like, I'm just going to be off my bike for like 10 days before like literally riding the event. Like that just didn't sit well with me. And I was like, is this worth it? Am I going to be giving people like the best version of me? Am I going to feel like I'm like riding well? And it's just like, those are those aspects where I'm like, I only want to do it if I feel like I'm going to be like progressive me, like not just like old me. No,
it definitely makes sense. So in Balancing Act, there's a moment after you guys win the championship where your co-driver says, oh, that was David versus Goliath. What made it David versus Goliath in your mind?
I mean, there's a few reasons for sure. I mean, like the big thing for the championship last year, which was really tough for like myself, Travis, the Subaru Motorsports team, was like we had a car that was built around like a national spec set of rules. It's built for a championship. That's not like, it's trying to keep it
it's not
fair.
Unlimited budget championship.
It's not exactly. It's trying to keep it like as fair as possible to competitors. Like obviously we have like a great machine. And then Ken came in and had like a team that came from World Rally that was, just recently competing, and he had like a proper spec World Rally car, like top tier. It was a car that had won, I think the manufacturer's championship in 2019. Like it was like, this is like, he's bringing like the fastest machinery in rally.
Yeah.
And there was, obviously he had to change the car a little bit, but for the most part, it's like, this is a World Rally car. Like this thing's proper. So we had to, within like this kind of like, there was like some leeway in the rules to start to add aero and things like this, because these cars were coming in and we had seen it the year before, and we were like, we had a big challenge. Like Travis won the championship that year, but it was close, like with McKenna Motorsports, and like he had a world car from like the same generation. And then Ken kind of brought, like, his was a bit newer. It was the same generation, but it was like the newest spec. And it was just like, we get on a stage that suited that car and we had no chance.
Yeah, it was just like,
just like me and Travis, just like, you look at our times and we'd be like, we get to the end of the stage and we'd be like, well, I couldn't have drove that any faster. And like our times would literally be like 1/10 apart. And then Ken would take like 5 seconds out of us. And we're just like,
yeah, there's not that time there.
I just can't do anymore. And you just like, you start driving yourself nuts because you're just like, what are we going to do? And then you'd like maybe find a bit of time somewhere and you're like, it gives you hope. And so it was just like that the whole year. It was just like, we were just like, every stage had to be just flat out and you had to be on it, like perfect. And then we, luckily Ken came in with a new car. So the one advantage we had is like, we knew our car. We knew like, what it can take and where it was going to be quick and this and that. Ken had a bit of teething at the start of the season, which like set him back a few times, and it gave us a chance to do well. And luckily I kind of got myself. I capitalized. Like, like I got a couple event wins, and then like we were in a good position. But by the end of the year, he was like, you could just tell he's comfy in the car. We're going to events that are more his territory. Like he's done these events, Ken's done the championship, like, I don't know, he must have done it 10 years or so. So he's done these events possibly 10 times, these stages 10 or more times. And I was like, okay, like, it wasn't my championship to win.
Yeah.
That's for sure. It was like, it really was David versus Goliath. Like he had the equipment, he had the experience, and he's
fucking Ken Block.
And he's Ken Block. Like he's flat out. He was always going for it.
Yeah. Yeah. When you say that you looked up to a bunch of athletes in other sports, was he a guy that you looked at? Like, because there's like Travis Pastrana, and then there's Ken Block, and then there's you. And I think that if you take those three people, you go, they're kind of like the same guy, but in like a different way, like coming from a different place. Like, was he a guy that you kind of looked up to? Travis probably as well. Yeah.
I mean, Travis, definitely. Like
everyone.
Yeah. I'm just, I'll grab one. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Everyone looks up to Travis.
Yeah, it's like you can't like not appreciate or respect all the crazy stuff he's done, first of all, but also appreciate what he's done for action sports in a whole. Yeah. Like he is the biggest ambassador of action sports.
Yes.
And like obviously that's drifted into motorsports as well. Like I don't have enough good stuff to say about Travis. Like,
and he's the nicest
dude ever.
Person on planet Earth. Like literally the dude that not as flamboyant as like but like as nice as he looks in everything you've ever seen, he's that nice in real life.
That's how he is.
It's insane.
And like being teammates with him, like he could be a total asshole and just be like, he could screw me over in every way possible, but he was like full open doors. I give him 100% credit to like me getting up to speed as fast as I did once I got on the team, like being able to like get on the Subaru Motorsports program and then, kind of midway through the season, start winning stages. And by the end of the season, winning a rally. Like that wouldn't have happened if he wasn't being like, hey, like, here's things you need to know. Here's my data. Here's my in-car.
Really?
Like on stages, he'd be like, this jumps flat out. Like you can hit that flat. Like did it. And like he just like, and like he'd do the same thing. Like it was mutual. And especially as I became faster, like he's like, do you think this is flat? Like, are you going to take, like he was like, let's go 100% fair competition. Like I can look at your data, you can look at my data.
Yeah, let's grow together.
Let's grow together. And like, I didn't get that at the beginning. I was like, wow, Travis is being really generous here. But he saw it as like, if we have twice as much information, we should be quicker than the next, our competitors. Like that will help us be quicker drivers. And 100% it did. And that's a big part of like why we were able to be competitive against Barry and Ken Block and these dudes with like, top spec cars, good teams. So yeah, huge respect to him. Ken, of course, like always putting out inspiring content and this and that. But I wouldn't say that is my, like when I think of Ken, like I really respect him for like his like ability to kind of just like break the mold. And like, he's such a, like a
visionary.
He's a visionary. He's like a pioneer in a lot of ways, but I really respect his like business. Like he was just so dialed. Like the dude just like, he just got it, you know? And I unfortunately only got to really speak with him a few times, you know, even at the rallies, like we're all super busy. Like we catch up really quick, maybe like when there's a delay at a stage or something like that. But like, we weren't like getting to like have like a good conversation, and like we're sitting down like this and just like chatting it out. But before I got on Super Motorsports, it was kind of like the end of 2019, and I had rented, you know, some quicker cars that season, because I was like, I want to experience some fast, like competitive cars. And in my head, and I was like, I want to experience it before I'm not going to do this anymore. Cause like, I was like, I'm kind of at the end of it. Like, I don't really, you know, like I'm not super young. Like I've got a house and a mortgage, you know, I'm like trying to be
I gotta be an adult.
I gotta be responsible. And I'm like, I don't want to just be like blow all my money on rally and then just be like left with nothing, when like maybe like I'm not able to ride at like the highest level in whatever amount of years that's going to be. But I was like starting to look at it like the level I want to be driving the cars at doesn't fit my budget. Yeah. Like it was like either I'm doing it at 100% or I'm not going to do it at all. And that was just like, I couldn't feel good about just going there with like, you know, like a Group N style car and just kind of doing it just to do it. So I was like, I got the experience in these faster cars, and I was like, yep, this is it. Like it's that or nothing. And I got to the end of the year, and then I went to this Woodward grand opening in Park City, and Ken was there, and he came up to me and he's like, man, so stoked to meet you. Like, da da da. And I was like, well, like, stoked to meet you, man. Like, yeah. And he was like, hey, like, you know, when do you leave? And I'm like, oh, I leave like tomorrow afternoon. He's like, oh, okay, well, like if you've got time in the day, like come to our like Hoonigan headquarters, or, you know, his shop, garage, office space zone. I'm like, absolutely, I'd love to check it out. That sounds super cool. And so he's just like welcomed me in, like showed me around, like showed me kind of how they like run their operations a little bit, and like showed me all the insane cars that he had in the shop, and just like that was like the one time I really did get to have like a good conversation with Ken. And he was like asking about rally. He was gonna come do some like Canadian rally rounds, and he was asking me about like, oh yeah, like is this a good event? Is that a good event? I was like, yeah, you should do this one. No. He's like, are you gonna be there? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, I don't really know if I have like the money to do it, or like where I'd get the car or this or that. And he's like, oh man, you got to keep rallying. He's like, don't stop now. And then he almost kind of like gave me that like kick in the ass to like, he's like, why would you stop? Like, he's like, don't do it. He's like, I think something's going to happen for you. Like, just like keep your head down, keep trying. And then like, sure enough, like it was like, I went to New Zealand, saw you guys, I got back home, and then I was on Super Motorsports. So yeah, I was like
crazy. Yeah.
He's just like, he's so switched on with that stuff. Like he just knew. Yeah.
And yeah, there's guys like that, that they have so much weight behind their words. Yeah. So a guy like him,
he could have been bullshitting me 100%, but like I believed it because you kind of know, like.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like he's the guy where, like, if he says something to you, like a very genuine dude, and it's like you kind of have to listen to him. Yeah, like he's Ken Block. He's saying this for a reason. Like, totally. Take the advice.
And at that point, like again, like I didn't really know Ken that well. I had like friends of friends, like my good friend Anthony Vitelli did a ton of shooting with Ken, and like he always said good things, this and that, and like I knew he was a good dude, but I didn't know him that well personally. And then like as time went on, like I started to realize like he had done the same thing for a lot of people around him, like where he was like, hey, like he gave them a start, or he gave them a direction, and those people like took off and like really successful with it. And you're like, just goes to show, like, I mean, maybe that's his intuition of just knowing like people's abilities, or he's setting people up and trusting in them, and yeah, it's it like, but a lot of people around him, very successful people.
Dude, there's a saying, you know, rising tide floats all boats. You know?
True. Yeah.
And it's just like, I think when you were talking about Travis, like, let's share notes, let's do that. He's the same kind of guy.
Oh yeah.
You know, and there's people that they're like empowering. They're empowering in their words. They're empowering in their actions.
Yeah.
Like you can't be around Travis and not want to be better. You know,
100%.
You can't. Like,
he elevates everything.
And you think about what he did for you with Rally. Think about how many people he taught to backflip. Think about how many people he taught to double backflip. Like, just think about the level of empowerment that, you know, he's a guy like him's created. And Ken's the same guy.
Same thing.
You know, like you just
different methods.
Yeah.
Like how they help people around them, or like, you know, Travis is like very like in your face, and it's like
very obvious.
We're doing crazy stuff. You know, where Ken's like, hey, let's set the whole scene here. Like, how is this successful on like all fronts? You know, like yeah, okay, you know how to do your sport, but like, how do you make it successful behind the scenes of just the sport? Like, and then Travis is very much like action focused. So he was like, hey, we're just here to do cool stuff. Like, we're here to have fun.
Yeah, no, it's fucking cool to be just around those guys and like feel that vibe and that energy, you know, like just so much cool stuff comes from people like that. There's not that many of them in the world, but I think that's why they have like the impact that they do on people. Like think about, just where action sports would be without just those two dudes, like individually. Think about even like Rob Dyrdek.
Oh man,
what he's done, and like I'm pretty sure like that. I don't know the exact lineage, but I'm pretty sure Ken Block had like a lot to do with, you know, that guy and like the programs that you know. There's a lot that comes from those kind of like really inspirational dudes.
Yeah, again, like I don't know either, but like you look at it and you're like seems like Dyrdek, you know, Ken. There was like, you know, obviously Dyrdek always spoke highly of Ken, and he always he was like, Ken's the man. It's like, obviously at some point I'm sure he got some help in his career from Ken, and then there's like the Danny Ways and like all these dudes. You're just like, Ken is like literally like some of the highest class athletes, businessmen like in our industry. Like, you know, I think he's elevated all those dudes' career, whether or not that was already the trajectory they were going to be on, but like he's definitely played a part. Yeah.
And I think what's cool too, especially about Trav and Ken, like, I mean, Ken made like phenomenal money, like real crazy kind of money. And he did what I would imagine I would do with crazy fucking money. You know, like it's really cool to see a guy like that. And there's you know, like there's some other people I know where like they've just made fuck tons of money, and they're like, they were the 12-year-old version of them.
But you can respect that, because like we spoke about earlier, I'm like, I'm just trying to live the lifestyle. If I don't have the money to live, I gotta make the lifestyle work. And Ken's like, he's almost done both. He's like, well, I've got the money, but I also like, I want to live the lifestyle. I'm just gonna do it all. I
love that. Like, and just the, you know, you can change. Like, you could so easily change, but it's like, nah, I'm moving to Park City. I'm having a huge warehouse. I'm mountain biking stuff, like the whole deal, you know.
Dude, it's so sick. And like literally the last time I saw Ken, he was like, it was after the event. It was after one of the last events, but he was like, I bought this property. Check all these. He was showing me photos of all these mountain bike trails he built on his new property. And I was like, he's just living it.
Just
like,
a frother.
He loves it, dude. And I was like, this is so cool. And he's like, yeah, dude, come mountain bike. No. I'm like, man, I was just like, I was so stoked on that.
Yeah. No, that's a pretty like special dude.
Yeah.
So to go more into like maybe the business side of it, like, do you see yourself as like an entrepreneur?
No, I mean, I really don't in a way, but I mean, I've definitely let kind of my passions and you know, just like things that inspire me. Like obviously, like, you just get ideas in your head, and you're like, I just got to like make this happen, and that's kind of been like the things that have kept like pushing like my ideas forward, that maybe make me look like an entrepreneur. Like, but it's not like business focused. It's like, it's really like passion driven.
Yeah. It's inspiration. And then you're like, just, the business side of it is what brings the inspiration to life.
Very much that. And it's like, I understand that like there needs to be a business portion to it. Like I need to figure out how I get the funding to do these things, or like maybe I bring in, like, I think it's a cool opportunity. So I try and bring in the right people or the right brands or something to like make it as big as it can be, as cool as it can be. So I feel like I'm okay to put in like the business work side of it. Like like obviously like had like a, you know, a production company, you know, it's just like, it's a production company. Yeah. It's a bunch of like me and my buddies, but like I produce everything. I do I do the whole lot, you know, but it's like, if I wasn't doing it for myself or my ideas, I wouldn't want that to be my job. Like, I don't picture myself being like, if mountain biking doesn't work out, I'll just be a producer. I'll just like get in the commercial world. I'm just like, I do it because it's like a means to getting to like the final point of this like bucket list. Check this thing off the list. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm an entrepreneur. I just think I just keep following my kind of heart with things. Yeah,
dude, that's so funny. Like, because obviously my background was the super high end production, like had a production. That's like what I wanted to do, and then I did it long enough to realize it wasn't what I wanted. No, I was like, fuck all this. Yeah. But then as soon as I think the thing that killed it for me was just changes, and like you get hired for something and then they're like, we want you to do what you want to do, and then you do it, and then they're like, you get on a fucking Red Bull email with like 40 people you've never heard of before, and then some random person is telling you that they don't like this, and I'm just going, okay, fuck this. Like, this is all very, very meaningless shit. And it looked to me like, okay, you have a job at Red Bull or whatever company.
You gotta justify your job.
You have to do something here. Yeah. And then you get stuck in just iteration after iteration. And then I was like, that took the love out of it for me. Yeah. But then with the podcast, like, we do heaps of production work. Like I would say we still have a production company, and I love all of the stuff that we do, but it's like for my own ideas.
Because you know you're going to be excited about the final product.
Yeah. And it's my final product.
You're bringing it to life.
Yeah. And if you don't like that particular bit of music, or if you think that cut sucks, then like, cool, man. Like, just do your own thing like I did.
As long as you're happy with it, then you can be proud of it, you know? And like, that was always the thing with why I started doing it myself more and more, was like I might be with like a production company, and like sometimes it'd be like awesome, like I get to do a rad shoot or this or that, and we'd be really excited about what we got. And then there's sometimes where I was like, I could see it, or it's like if we had like 2 more days of shooting, or we like maybe like planned out the day a little different, we would have been more productive, and like this and that. And it kind of was like, I feel like if I did my own thing, I could do it better. Yeah. And that was always it. And then I'm like, I'm just going to invest in myself. Like, I'm going to prove to myself mainly that like that idea actually is real. Like that, like I could do it better. Like I could make my riding come across as like, you know, a lot more exciting, a lot more interesting, give me the opportunity to maybe do some new tricks, not just like be pushed in this small window to like just get the shot, you know, like get a shot. And that's kind of how that evolved. Like, yeah, you just have like, for me, and it was like, I'm going to do things differently. I might have a different look. And if people don't like it, then, well, that kind of sucks. But if I like it, I can at least feel good about that.
Yeah. And so what did that process look like? So you did some shoots maybe that didn't work out the way, but you knew guys that shot, and then you had, you know, like a photographer friends, and then you're like, okay, let's assemble the Avengers of like this particular thing. I want to do it my way this one time. Yeah. And then that goes well, and then it sort of turns into like you having a production company, or like what's the stages that it goes through?
Essentially, like it was just kind of like a perfect storm at that time. Like I had just done like a ton of, like I did a movie with like another production company, and I was doing like video parts with other production companies, and then I was doing like Red Bull, you know, YouTube series stuff, and it was just like none of it was controlled by me really. Like I had say at certain times to be like, well, what are we gonna do for this? Like, how do you want to approach this and that? But it was like, it wasn't my production, and then I did some like little like just web edits, just like random stuff, like with a buddy that he got hired by one of the sponsors that I've had forever. And we went out and did a little shoot, and it was like super fun. We like kicked it off really well, and he was kind of in a position where he felt like the same way. He's like, it's always someone telling me what to do, and like I feel like I could do it better. Yeah. And I was like, I kind of do too. And he's like, should we just try?
We become best friends?
Yeah, were we best friends now? And we kind of just were like, let's just do it. Like, fuck it. Like, what do we have to lose? You know, like let's just try and, you know, maybe get a little bit of support for like a bigger idea we have. And then we just started like putting ideas down, and we just started doing it. And just making it happen. And then that kind of snowballed into like, this is actually working, and like people are fired up on it, and we're having fun, like way more fun than we would on these like other shoots. And it's like, I feel like the riding is gnarlier, and like the level of the content's getting better, but we're not like it's like I'm less stressed, like, and he's like not stressing it as much. And so it was a really good like rhythm. And then obviously at that time it was like just the people around us, like I had some buddies that were photographers, and they were just like, they just wanted to be a part of these like personal projects. They just thought it was cool, and like so they would come along, and then we just like built a like a family of people that were all like really talented, but in ways where they could like add to the production. Like guys that do animation and guys do audio, and like, okay, perfect. We've got like a small little production company now, so we can just like keep doing this stuff.
That's so sick.
Yeah, and then it kind of went on and on, like we just kind of evolved it, and then we did some commercial work. And then, in that experience of doing commercial work, I was like, yeah, it's not for me. Like, it's cool, and like you get a nice check at the end of it, but I hated someone always changing. Like, we had like a vision, and then it was like our vision changed, and it wasn't what we were trying to create. So I was like, I'm like, at that point I was like, I'm happy with where I am. Like, I don't need to be making a bunch of money. I just need to be making enough money to do this thing. Yeah. Like, this is working. Like, I'm really excited about it.
And I can imagine though that you would have made more money doing it that way than if you were just a rider that was like, the Red Bull guys are like, hey, the shoot's here. Oh, so it didn't?
No.
Really?
It costs a lot of money.
Okay.
Yeah. Spent a lot of money to do. I mean, I still do. Like, it's an investment. Like, I look at it like I make a certain amount of money, and I'll go, I'm willing to give up this portion of what I earn,
so that you've got the control,
so that I can just do what I want to do. Okay. And it's like, again, it's that lifestyle. It's like, I don't want to be told what to do all the time, and I want to feel like, energized and inspired when I go to do these things. Like, I want to see myself doing this for a long period of time, but I could see myself getting burnt out if someone always has the control. Yeah. If it's not going in a trajectory that like inspires me, then I'm going to be like, all right, maybe this isn't it. I'll just ride my bike for fun or do this. Like, it doesn't need to be work. Man, but for me, I'm like, it's got to like, I'm going to just do it right. Like, it's work. Like, I'm still living the lifestyle. I still have enough money to live. It's okay to invest that little bit. It's as much as I'd love to like put that away in a savings account or whatever, but it's just like, for me, like I just need to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's something as well that like, so that investment, and I think about this all the time. It's like the thing I have to go back to whenever, like, in the moment I feel like shit's not where it needs to be, is just like, can I do this for 20 years?
Yeah.
And totally. Like, when I started the podcast, I was 30 basically, or like 29. And I was like, all right, Rogan's 50. Like, literally, that's like,
I got this.
Yeah, I was like, Rogan's 50. Yeah. Like, I could do this for 20 years. If I make, like, I have to do a job for the next fucking 20 years, right? So it's like, let's do this to the level that makes me want to do it for 20 years.
Exactly.
And that's always been a thing that's in the back of my mind. And like, when you said before about like COVID with the podcast, like, that was a weird time in the way that there was 150 new podcasts a week.
Oh yeah.
It was fucking psycho.
Crazy.
And it was like, when we started this in, I think it was like 2018, it wasn't like that big of a thing, especially not in Australia. Like, it just, people didn't really listen to podcasts in Australia in the way that they do now. Yeah. But that was one time where I would just see these people come, and where you had to mentally tell yourself like, cool, it's not like, will they be there in 20 years? And it's just like, you don't have to focus on those external things when you've kind of got an internal deal, and like people all the time that, they say, oh, you must be stoked at this, or isn't this cool? I'm like, we're just getting started. Yeah, like, we're a quarter of a way into the plan right now. And it's like half a decade of work is only a quarter of the way through, like what we're trying to achieve. So yeah, I think it's like I can't remember what book it was. Maybe like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The first chapter is begin with the end in mind.
Yeah,
and
totally.
It's so true.
But it's only you that understand that, right? Like, everyone looking in, like, what they see is, oh, this is it. Like, this is what we're gonna see forever. But it's like, you have a path. You're like, no, I see where it's going. Like, but like no one will understand that till I show you.
And that's the same as you doing a one-handed tabletop. In
a lot of sense, yeah. That's like the very beginning step, maybe though. But yeah.
But it's like you
have to start there.
You see the vision in your head.
Yeah.
So
exactly. Like, from like when we decide that we're gonna be on this jump and we're gonna do this trick to me actually getting that clip.
And then the first time that you do it, everyone's like, dude, you nailed it, like killed it. And then you're like, shit, bro, like that was garbage. Yeah. So yeah, it's like you're the one that has that. But it's like I think that if you can do things with that in mind, like right from day one, then
that's ideal.
Yeah, and I think that it makes like all of the challenges that come at you, it kind of makes them a little bit easier to dissolve because you're like, no, I'm pretty steadfast on this vision. You can see
past it. Yeah. And in that same sense, I feel like you need to be a bit malleable. Like when you have that big picture, because you can get so locked in on like, it has to be like this, it has to be like this. But like, if you're okay with things kind of changing a little bit as you move along towards that direction, like I feel like you usually end up at like a happier place as well. Like you're like, that wasn't how I pictured it, but you know what? This is maybe better.
Yeah, like that little bit of, it's like the universe dust.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you've got, because like
unexpected.
That's like what we're doing in a weird sense in this world. Or it's like how I've always thought about like my own life is like, as humans, we have this weird ability to like visualize the future. Right. And as far as we want.
Yeah.
You know, within reason. But it's like, I can picture, like I saw an old dude yesterday and it looked like he had like osteoporosis or something, you know, he was like real hunched and he was like walking. Yeah. So like immediately in my head, I'm like, all right, I want to keep doing stretching. I want to keep like, there's a reason I'm doing all like, so you can look like I'm 35, dude was probably 85. Like, you can visualize 50 years down the road. And we do this thing where like we spend all day, every day almost just in our head creating the universe that we want to live in. And then we have a weird ability to make that happen. Like we're in this room because I thought we could be in this room, you know? And it's like, but what you said is that there's also the universe that kind of doesn't give a fuck. Like literally has no idea about your plans, doesn't care. They're like, it's just this completely mechanical thing that you're in. And it's like, you've got to do a dance between like those two things. And if you're locked off and you're so rigid, then there's like a lot that you're going to lose out
exactly. on. Yeah, like you built this room. Yeah. But you built this room in Australia. Yeah. And then it's like COVID happened and you're like, I'm going to build this room in California. Yeah. So it's like, in a weird way, those two worlds kind of mesh. And it is strange when you have that vision and then it's like it actually comes to real life. You're like, I always like saw this, you know, as like, that would be cool. And then when it happens, you're like, it's crazy that that actually happened. Like that just worked out.
Yeah. And do you have a thing, for me in my life, the things that always work out are the things I could see the most clearly?
100%. Yeah.
And these days now that if I can't really see it, like really see it, then I almost won't do it.
Yeah, I would say like on the bike, like with tricks. Like if I can't visualize it in my head, I'm like zero confidence. Like if it's in my head, like is like, you know, super clear, I'm like, I know I can do it. It's like, as scary as it is, it's like I know it's there.
Yeah, there's like that's a weirdly powerful thing to do, like, and I would think that with edits, like when I was doing I don't know if you ever saw that Dream Ride video. Yeah Bro, I watched that like shot for shot before I even built a jump. Totally. Like even down to the intro scene in the fucking in the plane, like I didn't know anyone with that kind of plane. I wanted a shot where like, and I'd spent my whole life in that area and I knew that when you flew over this place and if you flew over this, like how the reef would look and like what it looks like. So I could shot for shot watch that. And then there's been other projects where like I've gone on the project, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm making. And they sucked. They sucked. But it's like the stuff that it's almost like if I couldn't watch it before I shot it in my own head, then I did not have confidence in the project.
Totally. Yeah, it's like you can literally play it in your head before you've started. I was always like, when I had that in the beginning, I was always scared that like, oh, it's not going to be what I like had pictured, you know? But then now when I go to a project, I'm like, if I can't like picture the whole project, like how it would kind of come together, it would start stressing me out because I'm like, it always works out better when I have like a timeline, mental timeline.
Do you get more anxiety around shoots or less anxiety around shoots now that it's all on you?
I would say it's so tough. There's aspects that are harder, way harder. And then there's aspects that I'm like, I feel more comfortable about because I have the control, you know, even just like mainly with the riding, like where I don't have to put myself, like I could be like, you know what, like I'm the one spending the money. Like it's really windy today.
I'm not doing it.
I don't want to kill myself. Whereas like, it's a little weird when like you're there and it's like the person that's paying the filmers is expecting to get, they're basically telling the filmers like, hey, we need this done in 3 days. Yeah. And like you're about to waste a whole day.
Everyone's got flights booked. Everyone's got like, it's a gnarly deal.
And you're about to waste a whole day because it's too windy to ride. But like everyone's looking at me. They're like, well, we can't work unless you're doing your job. So they're like, either you ride in the wind or we get yelled at. And it's like, so then that pressure was always really gnarly. I'm like, I don't want to feel like I'm the one that's like, you know, these guys have, you know, guys and girls, whoever is on the shoot, they have families, they got, you know, mortgages, whatever. It's like, I don't want to feel like I'm taking away from them because I'm like,
you're looking out for your safety.
Because like, I'm like this dude that can't do his job or whatever. Or like maybe I hurt myself on one day of the shoot and I'm like, I can barely ride. Like my ankle's blown up or whatever it is. So that part always got so stressful. The part that's the most stressful, like when I do the production, is that like that it is all on me. And like basically if the project doesn't get finished, like if I hurt myself in the middle of the shoot and it doesn't get done or it just goes to complete crap, like, and it doesn't, basically if we can't finish the project and get a final product, then I basically spent all this money and I don't get anything back. Like I can't even try and sell the project or like get support for it. Or like if someone is going to support it and I can't deliver, they're not going to pay me. Like I'm not going to get any money back, but I might have spent like literally all the money accounted for the project. It might have already been spent with like the build and everything's been rented and everything's like, you know, accommodation, food, the boys have traveled there and like, you know, other than some post-production costs, like I've pretty much spent the whole lot. So that's the stressful part now. But again, it's like, I trust in my abilities, I trust in my preparation, and then you just take, there's that bit of risk to it, and it's always worth it in the end. But
yeah, how do you feel about just the content landscape these days? Like I watch, good call. I watch Balancing Act, and I go, thank fucking God someone made this video. Like thank you for not having 45 TikToks in a row. Yeah, because that's kind of the landscape at the moment. And you know, like I love bike builds. Like that's my, selfishly, that's my thing. I fucking love more than anything else is to build like a super dope bike, weave a story into it. Like we did a 350. I love 350s. Like I got hurt doing jiu-jitsu, so I like built this sick bike, and then I ended up giving it to my brother to race, and then that meant I had to do like another race on it, and it just evolved. And then it gets me to the track, it gets me in the shop, it gets me. There's something so, I don't know, like fucking cool there for me. But then it's like I posted a 35-minute YouTube video on making this bike, and it's like that's not what works these days. No. Luckily it did. Like that video actually crushed it, and it re-gives you faith. But one thing I've always really, really respected about you and your creativity is that you never really seemed like a guy that wanted to bend to the algorithm and to the thing that's in right now. You've always made, I'm sure there's an element of it at times, but you've always made the content that you wanted to make.
Yeah, it's striking that balance, obviously. And like the landscape changed so fast, like
crazy.
It's man. Like I feel like even the last couple months, I'm like, it's different than it used to be, you know. And like, I want to create something that feels like very whole, and like thought out and curated, and sometimes that can't just be like a social video.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, it's like you're like, is it even gonna do well? And like when it does, you're like, thank God.
Yeah.
And then when it doesn't, you're like, crap. But like at least it's still something I'm proud of. Like I wanted to do it. I did it my way. Like I can't be like bummed on that. But then it's like, it's taking that, like, you know, you're trying to also create a bit of a business and make it work. Because like, I want to continue to make this stuff, but if it just doesn't, like, if no one wants to be involved or support it, then it's like, I don't get to do it at all. It's like, there needs to be a bit of a balance where you can find that line of like, it's working and you can continue doing it, but you still have control of like how the content is going to be shaped. So for me, I'm like, I look at it and I'm like, especially I would say right now, I'm like, it needs to evolve. Like there's something like I would like to do, like whether it's like separate from a lot of the stuff I'm already doing, or it's like there's something that like kind of like comes into it, or like maybe like how you market it and PR it behind all the content or before the content. Like there could be other ways to like infuse a little bit of like what's kind of catchy now and add that in there. But I don't want to just like take the format that's like the algorithm, like you said, and just be like, oh, this is it now. I'm not going to do that. I'm just doing this because that's what works and everyone's happy about that. It just doesn't work for me. It's kind of like, it's being challenged for sure. You know, it's like showing up to a slopestyle course and being like, I've never ridden this feature. I got to figure out how to trick this thing. You know, it's like, oh, they didn't tell us this was going to be here. We didn't get to practice this. Like, you know, it's like, it's annoying because you're like, why do they have to keep changing things? But then but then you get through it and you're like, no, I'm stoked on this. I just got like a new creative window, and like I learned something. So is frustrating as it can be, like it's changing as fast as it is. It sometimes leads to like, you know, cooler, better projects or whatever content, or just like new opportunities.
Yeah, because it's such a changing landscape now. And like, I mean, a Dream Ride video now, like I just don't see that getting 1 million views.
Even just like feature films, you're like, I love a feature film. Like if someone's like gonna pour their heart into like a full feature, and like, you know, if it's an action sports film and there's 12 athletes that are gonna put crazy video parts together, like I love that. Yeah. But you just know these days that that's just not, it's not a format that works. Like you'll never, like you can't just sit on content for I mean, you're never going to make a film in less than a year really at this point. So it's like, you're going to be working on this thing for a minimum a year. You're not going to like, you know, to keep it like nice and tight, you're not going to want to release social and. Yeah.
Which means you're not
present.
Generating.
Yeah. You're not feeding the machine.
Yeah.
And then it's like, then you have this one big release, but it's like, you maybe had impressions on a 45-minute video, hour-long video, but it got the same amount of views as your 45-second to 1-minute video on social. It's like, but it's like, how do you separate, like, you know, this many people sat down for an hour and took in this like amazing piece versus like people were scrolling through and they kind of just like, they saw your content quick and kept scrolling, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, it's not, I don't feel like it's the same, like people don't digest it, those two things the same way.
Yeah, they might be 100,000 views on each, but
yeah,
they're not
but when
equal.
you look at it black and white, like it's like I'm reading the paper, you know, like as like a, you know, someone at a brand, they're like, well, what did this gain us? Like we did the same thing with this one social video. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think what people miss is what it does for the culture.
Yeah.
And like our generation, like we're a similar age, we grew up in a similar generation. Like my whole life was shaped by chain reaction,
100%.
You know what? The Great Outdoors, all of these films, like the On the Pipe series, like Earthed. You know, like dude, that's my fucking life. Like my music taste, Steel Roots, like everything that like was so much of who I am. Is because of those films. And like friends of mine, you know, like I new friends that come into your life and you bond over. Bro, you're a Steel Roots kid. Like you're a Krusty's guy. Like this is how you get in a car, you get in a rental car together, and you're just like Mini Warriors 4 playlist. Like fuck, let's go. So I get so worried nowadays that it's like from the business's perspective that like, yeah, I get that things need to perform right now, but it's like, what responsibility do we have to the culture?
Yeah.
Like, what are the kids like? Is there going to be a kid that wants to ride a bike like you, or is we just going to end up with 3 million dickheads on Suron? But like, I mean, and to that, like, there's some dude on YouTube. I don't know if you've seen him, Suronster.
No,
bro, the guy gets like fucking 1 million views a upload, and he just wears a helmet with a GoPro and a mic, and like you never see his face, and he just uploads Suron content, and the dude's getting 1 million views a video.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I'm just like, what? Where are? I mean, good for him. Like,
yeah,
obviously
100%.
Rad, but it's like that. The landscape is so different now, and it worries me for the culture going forward.
I would 100% agree with that, and I would say like, I've thought about this recently. I'm like, I feel like something that's like, that has more culture or is like more thought out, or like maybe, you know, it comes in a longer format, is still really important. I think like as we start to like steer away from that for like a longer period of time, I'm hoping to see it come back, because people are going to realize like, you know, like people are just like way too like just, you know, getting like, they're just getting so much like overwhelmed with like TikTok, Instagram, and it's like at some point it's like they need something they can like you would to sit down and, you know, and watch like a movie on Netflix or something, where you like, you take it in a bit more. And I'm like, we need that to kind of like infuse the sports with that culture again, and like things. I would hope that it comes back around, just because like I think 100% agree that all action sport needs that. Like any you know, sport there is right now,
because that's what we're all built off.
So we're built off, and that's like where like I feel like you just learn more. Like it's like, I feel like you don't, like you said, like the music and like maybe like the way people would like film things, or like the style people would like add to their video part. Like maybe they would bring in an aspect of their life to their video part, and that was like the creative and
and like a skit or
exactly. And it's like, it kind of built the culture around the sport, and then it was like a talking point and this and that, whereas like social, like you can't embody all that and you know, this other short form content. But yeah, it's so tough. Like it's just hard to know. And then at the same time, I feel like the way that the content is going, I feel like it's changing how you need to like, basically like the way you would do your sport as an athlete. Like it's almost like sometimes now, like the craziest trick isn't the most impactful thing. It's like just how you could do something you've done 1 million times, but if you just do it like the right kind of way, and it's a short little moment, and you upload that to social, all of a sudden it's just crazy. Like, so I'm like, I feel like these like insane video parts are like almost becoming more risky than they were back in the day. Because in the back of the day, it was like you could build your whole career off like a crazy video part. But now it's like you could have a crazy video part and no one even watches it.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Yeah, it's it just worries me that we're just going to lose a lot, you know. And when you were talking about living in BC and the snowboard culture that was kind of there, it really makes sense to me when you said that. Like, it was kind of a bit of a light bulb as to like, oh, that's why mountain biking has the filming that it has.
100%. Oh yeah. Because I
always wondered where it come from.
Well, obviously like snowboarding had like insane cinematography. They were just like dialed. You know, and they're in the mountains. Yeah,
they're there the whole time.
But then for the other 6 months of the year, those dudes had nothing to do, so then they go film mountain biking. You know, it was like, oh, this is how I work in the summer, and then we go back to shooting snowboarding. But they were like so dialed. Like, all those dudes are like, like, I mean, you look at, you know, obviously like Freeride Entertainment had like, you know, I think they did stuff with Matchstick, and then there was, you know, Anthill was like, they did Alterna, and they did a bunch of other like, worked with other production companies, like, I don't know, like maybe like a Whiteout or something. And then, like all these like really like big mountain bike production companies that have been around since like the early freeride days are like, they all were just snowboard filmers.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's influenced so much of like the culture and the way that you guys showcased the sport to the world, you know. And I think like even I grew up racing mountain bikes, and like, so mountain biking was a big part of that. But even when I stopped, like I've always watched the content. Like it was always a flagship. And like even when I did Dream Ride, the whole concept of Dream Ride was like the thing that sucks about moto is that you can't put it in a bag and put it on a plane and go somewhere.
Yeah.
Like there's no destination at all with moto. Like every single thing is the same track, the same test track, the same bike. Like you drive a van there, you unload the van. Like how the fuck can we get away from that?
Yeah.
And it was such a huge like handicap in the sport in a sense, is that like we just you couldn't travel.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally.
And yeah, to that project to me was like, all right, what would happen if I did like a mountain bike thing where it's like you go, and it was films like, you know, like life cycles, and there's just all these where it was such an effort, and it was custom made, and it was, you know, obviously in a moto context, it's like a lot harder
for
to
sure.
do, but you can just see the impact that it has on the culture when you can make that style of content and you can showcase that to people. Like it inspires generations.
Yeah, and we're really fortunate. Like, you know, I'm always like, wish I was a skateboarder or this and that. You just go into the city and whatever, you find cool little spots everywhere. But it's like, we're super lucky that we get to like get outside that, and like we get to travel the world, see crazy spots. We can ride our bikes on like so many different types of terrain and environments, and like it is an aspect that I do really appreciate, especially like from a production standpoint, because it's like you can constantly change the environment. Yeah. But at the same time, like that level of production has been so high from early on, and it's continued to grow, where it's like it's like serious, like it's like commercial level, like skateboarding. It's like you can go with a VX with your homie.
And if you don't go with a VX, you're kind of a loser.
That's totally it. Yeah. But like you can just do that format, and it's like very minimal cost, and you're in the city, and it's like there's whatever, like you could, it's very low overhead. Like,
yeah, let's go to Barcelona and skate.
Exactly. Yeah. And you can make your like the video part or video parts for the year that are going to like, you know, set your career off for that, you know, like it's like, this is like progressive thing. Or mountain biking, it's like, you need that whole like commercial production level to follow you and be doing the same stuff. And you need to be traveling, and you're like, you know, you're maybe super deep in the desert or like out in the woods or this or that. It's just like, it becomes crazy expensive. Yeah. It's just like, it's full commercial.
Yeah. I would think that, I remember the first time I watched Art of Flight and like being a filmer and just being like,
what?
Fuck this. Like, they are so cold. Yeah. They are so hungry. They're so tired. Like, the cameras are so heavy. Like, every single metric that you want to measure this production, this is torture for these people that have, you know, doing, and it's like you said, it's kind of this carries into mountain bikes. It's crazy. Totally.
And then the winter sports is even crazier to me. Like, getting up at 3 a.m, 4 a.m, whatever, like loading up the sled, driving to wherever, sledding into the zone. They get there, they've got like the jump was built the day before, whatever, like, you know, and then it's like, it's overcast, let's go home.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, like something blows in, you're like, all right, don't worry about it, let's go. Yeah. And like the days you talked before about like the cost of keeping people for days, like just snow,
it's wild,
like in the backcountry, you're just out there just waiting and waiting and wait, and then that pressure that puts on the athletes to just be like, bang bang, go, you have to go right now, like that you could die on this run, I don't care, you got to go right now.
Totally.
Avalanche, maybe just go.
You start to like, I mean, you start to break apart like a video part in like some of these sports. It's like, okay, you know, they came to this location, all the travel costs, accommodation costs, food, whatever. And then it's like, okay, then they built the feature, they spent this much time, they had to pay the people to help or whatever it is, it cost that much. And then it took this many days to shoot the feature, and then they got 5 to 10 seconds of footage. And it's like, you spent $5,000 to $10,000 to get one clip for your video part. It's like, okay, now you need at least 20 more of those. It's like, it's crazy when you like, you
really do the math.
Yeah. And it is one of these like, you know, travel video parts. Like, you're not just in a location that's like home or somewhere where you have like accessibility to somewhere to stay and people to work with and this and that. It's like, if you're like on a destination video part, it's like it's serious. Like you're like, I need to be as productive as possible because like every day is really expensive.
Yeah. Is creativity like a thing that is in short supply? Like you find it hard, not hard, but I guess it's like you're really hunting for the right idea, or are you a guy that has a lot of ideas and you're playing catch up to, like, you've got more than enough in a sense?
Comes in waves.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say like there's times where I'm like, I've got a lot of ideas and then I'm just like, kind of like, don't know what to do. I'm like, how do I do this? Do I do that? And like kind of scrambling. And then there's times where I'm like, I literally like, I don't have a direction. Like I'm not sure what the next thing is or whatever. I might have an idea, but I don't have a location, or I might have a location, but I have no idea like what that looks like if we go there.
Fits there, like.
Yeah. And it's just like, it can be challenging, but like when the stars align, you're like, oh, I got this idea. And oh, actually, you know what? Like I got, an opportunity to do something at this location. They're like, oh, it's perfect. Like, let's just do that. And then it, it's so nice when the stars align, but yeah, it's like, sometimes it's easy. Like I'll come into a season and I'll be like, oh, I'm good. I got like 5 video part ideas and like whatever, like, a direction in my head of like what I'm going to do with it. And then there's other years I'm coming in and I'm like, I have no idea. And I'm like scrambling. I'm like hitting up whoever I need to hit up, or just like finding like literally like when I did Raw 100, the last Raw 100 bike one at that abandoned mine.
Yeah.
I was on Flickr. And I was like, I was losing my mind. I was like, I'm just going to like, I need to find a cool location. And then I was like, people on Flickr post weird random locations. So I'm like on Flickr, just like typing in like random landscape, like stuff, like just anything. And then a photo of like this like collapsed abandoned building came up, and I was like, this is super cool looking. Like that looks like an up ramp, and that you'd be like a drop, and the dirt looks kind of sick. And then there's like wall rides here. And I was like, where is this? It's going to be in like somewhere crazy. It's gonna be like Russia or like, I'm like, I don't know where it's going to be. And then it was like Merritt, BC. It's like 3 hours from my house. I was like, okay,
cool. We're on there.
Who owns this place? Yeah. Boom. Like figured it out, called the dude the next day. Like it was like, obviously like getting the permits for that shoot took like a whole year because like the dude, well, no, it was my production.
Oh, okay.
Obviously like Red Bull supported it, but like I did the whole thing, but it was like
Can you skirt some of the Red Bull stuff when it's your production and then you just deliver them a video, or
they get the final piece?
So then do you have to play by all their rules when it comes to production stuff then? If it's I'm in a gray area. Okay, cool. Yeah. Because I know how that shit goes. It fucking sucks sometimes.
I've kind of like, and we have that relationship where it's like
they know
how I work, and like I'm not like getting paid as a production. Like this is like, I spend my time because I want to do this stuff. I'm like, hey, I'm doing this. You guys want to be a part of it. And then it's like, you guys are essentially licensing the video, and we're going to collaborate on it and do some fun stuff with it. But like, it's my production. I'm not asking for money to be a producer. I'm not asking the production to like, it's just like, we're doing this and you're going to be a part of it if you're excited. And that's great. And then obviously like they'll have some say in like, hey, like here's some ideas, or like, maybe can we do this for the video? And then, it's like, it's collaborative at times, but a lot of the time they're like, you have a vision, we trust you.
But at this point in your career,
we've done it enough that we trust each other, and it's like, that's the working relationship. And I'm not like, again, I'm not trying to be a production company. I'm just trying to get my ideas. Like,
I'm just trying to make bring
it to life, And so that was, one of those ones was like, I think I've got the next Raw 100 spot. Like, and like it took me like a year to get this dude to say yes. We got permission.
Really? What was his reservation, or what does it normally get used for, that place?
Well, it was a deactivated mine, and then they started up, like he purchased it and they started up again.
Okay.
But that part of the mine that we were using was like all old buildings. He had built new buildings, new facility, whatever. And then they're mining up above, and this, like the property's big, but that area we used was kind of down on like one side of the property. And then he was sort of like, he was super cool. He was actually like kind of like embedded into some like more like typical sport, like team sport stuff in the area. And it's a really rad dude actually. But he was just sort of like, he didn't understand action sports as much. And he's like, hey, he's kind of like, obviously we're just like some dirtbag mountain bikers. He's like, are you guys dialed?
Yeah, you guys
like,
cool?
Yeah. And he's also like, hey, we've got operations happening here, and it's a mine. It's an active mine. It's like not a safe place to just have people around and other machinery around. So that was like a bit of the conversation, and he was totally into it. Like you could tell he was kind of excited about it, but he was just like hesitant to be like, yes. And then COVID happened. And then it was sort of like, obviously there was some really weird months, and I obviously didn't reach out in that time because I was like, everyone's doing their own thing. And as it started to kind of like, there was a little period in the middle of COVID where it started to mellow out a little bit. I reached out to him and was like, hey, just FYI, like I'd still be keen to do this. Well, like, just let me know, like, if this is a possibility. And he's like, well, we're shut down. Like, there's no one here. So he's like, just roll up, do it. He's like, yeah. And that was it. Cool. And that was like what gave us the opportunity pretty much.
How long are you spending on a video like that? So I'm asking very film nerd questions.
I planned that one out for like over a year. Like
for like the shoot itself, like how quickly can you, or like I guess you had to build the features and then to shoot it. Like how much time are you?
Yeah, I would say like once I have like idea of like what I want to do from like a riding standpoint, and I have a location. It takes probably, like there's the time to like figure out, okay, who's going to be shooting and like how many days do we need this and that. Like I'll do like the logistics of it takes me.
And that's you doing that?
Yeah.
Like, so you're the producer essentially.
Yeah. I would say the logistics is like, I need a minimum of a month, but like sometimes I'll spend like 3 months. And once I've got a location and once I know like what I'm doing as a rider. And then once we're on set, it's typically like 10 to 14 days. We can do a full build and shoot.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a bit more. Like if it's a really big one, like I would give ourselves more like closer to 18 days. But like that one we did in 12 days.
Man, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And so you're the spreadsheet dude, you're the email dude, you're the budget dude.
Everything.
Like, no way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know obviously from like the film, like the photography stuff that you do, like you take epic photos, and like even in the balancing act, you're like, we'll do it here, like backlit, and it's like you know everything that you're doing, but yeah, to hear that you're the dude typing the emails, making the calls, booking the locations, like just all that. That's such a heavy lift to do while also trying to be one of the most progressive riders in the sport,
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, I don't really want to be a producer, but when there's like a means to something I really want to do, then I'm like, I'll just do the work, It's like, if you want it done right, you do it yourself. And that's like, I've learned that the hard way, I feel like, over my career and just time. And you're just like, I have a vision. I can't there's certain people in your life that you can trust to help drive that vision forward. But for the most part, it's like the best person to bring that vision to life is yourself. So you just just get into it.
With like creativity in general, like were you creative before this in a sense of like you would have, if let's say there's no mountain bike or there's none of that, you would have shot film, you would have or is this all come out of your career in a sense, like the proclivity to be creative in that sense?
I don't really know. Like, I guess I was always kind of like interested in photography, like even when I was younger. But I think like how you were saying, like when you watched like all the films that you grew up on, it was like that gave you your sense of like, that's how I want to ride. That's the kind of music I want to listen to. I think like that was kind of like, was a bit of like, okay, I want to film my riding, but I'm like, oh, it'd be sick if we shot it like that one clip in that one movie. And like when he was doing that, but I'm going to do this instead. It was like, I think that aspect of it kind of like made me more interested in like
so super symbiotic.
Yeah. The creative side of it. Yeah. And like, maybe I wanted to take something that like's already been done, but like just play with it, like let's do it a little different way or this or that. And then it just like, maybe like the bit of creativity I had just started to like snowball, because I'm like, look what you can do with this stuff. You can just go crazy, So then I just started doing like maybe going a bit more wild and like diving into that, like what can we do with this, or like what should the look be, what should the style be, like how do we color grade it, like you know, just those like aspects of, you know, making it different every time.
And do you enjoy the tech aspect of it? Yeah,
I do. I've always been into like, you know, the equipment, like my bike, or like, you know, like into, you know, cameras and random things. Like I just didn't really understand it. And then the more I started to get involved in it, I was like, okay, like and that was a part of like me wanting to shoot a little bit, is like, if I understand the cameras, I understand what's possible. Yeah. Cause like there'd be times where like I'd be on a production and I didn't really understand the shot. I'm like, okay, well, what lens do they have on? Are they going to see this jump? Are they going to see like the setup jump to the jump? And then like how much of the run out are they going to see? Cause I want to make sure like I'm looking the best I can from when I enter frame to when I leave. But if I'm like coming in kind of lazy looking and then I do a cool trick and then I like kind of skid early or do something lame, then I'm like, I'm going to be like, I did the cool trick, but then I blew it the rest of the shot. So I'm like, I want to understand, like I could just like look at the camera and be like, you know, walk by the filmer and be like, okay, I know exactly what he's looking at.
That's so sick. Yeah, that's very high level to be thinking, because, you know, for people that don't know, like you put a 200mm lens on, like you're not going to see really much before and much after. Like the background's going to appear like super close to whatever it is that you're shooting, whereas you go 16 to 35, you're going to see all of the landscape, all of the city in the back, you know. So there's so much in that. And
for sure,
when you start to kind of like dive into those details,
there's so many things. And I think like the mountain bike world is like I'm going to say it's nerdy, like for sure. Like they dissect things, like, you know, oh, his like cables were here and like, you know, this and that and whatever. They dissect things. And like I do too when I watch that stuff. So I'm like, okay, the filmer's shooting up the pipe with the 300mm on. I'm like, are you on my tires? Or you on my face? Cause like, I don't want to have like a stupid face while I'm riding, you know, like all tight. There's just like little things you just like, it's crazy how much like you will put into like the smallest aspects of it that aren't even like the riding.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite camera? Photography first.
For photography. Yeah. I mean, not really, I guess. I just kind of shoot whatever. I have like a little Fuji class, like point and shoot. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. It's awesome. But it's just like, it's fun. It's not like the most technical film camera. Like it's just literally just to capture the moments of me and my friends being dumb. And then I have like a film, like a M6. I really quite like. I don't shoot it enough because it's like the Fuji's nice because I can just like slip it in a pocket. Yeah. The Leicas are built like tanks. They're heavier and they're bulkier. So, but it's fun to shoot it, and it's like you can kind of go out and shoot film like well. Yeah. And then I just have a little Canon R5 that's kind of like, it's kind of like the crash cam for a lot of the productions. Like we'll put it on the stabilizer or like, you know, so get audio with it and this and that. But it's for a digital, you know, smaller light digital camera. It's amazing. And then like I just have a bunch of like prime RF lenses for it, and they're wicked. Yep. They're just fast and small and light, and it's like for me just to go out and, you know, shoot some stuff. It's an awesome little camera, like more than I need.
What sort of stuff are you shooting in like your daily life?
It's like, as I would love to shoot like action stuff, like, but I'm usually
the subject.
I'm usually the subject, or like when the light's nice, we're riding. Yeah. You know, and then I'm like, I don't want to miss the session. Yeah. So it's like rarely do I get to shoot that. So a lot of the times it's just like travel stuff, or like, you know, pull it out of the bag when like maybe a build's going on, and I'll just kind of have it around to capture like the moments of like what we're doing and like the progression and then like, travel stuff, like in a cool city or like someone's taking us on like a cool little adventure, like I'll bring the camera and like trying to capture some moments, but that's about most of it.
Have you ever thought about doing like a book or like some kind of like coffee table book or some kind of like something like that? Because over the years, man, you just have so much dope shit.
Yeah, I actually have. Like, it would be sick to do. I feel like the last couple years I've just been so off the back with taking photos, but I was like, I kind of like had that ambition. I'm like, it'd be cool just to like at some point just put a whole bunch of photos together and make a couple little like zines or coffee books for like just a bunch of friends. But yeah, I just kind of like, I feel like I fell off a little bit.
The time too.
Unfortunately. Yeah, they just like, I have folders and folders of images that just like live on a hard drive of my computer.
Yeah.
But one day, I think, you know, there's plenty more years of cool stuff going on where I'm like, I'll build up a good catalog, and then when it's like, there'll be a good time, and I'll be like, throw a bunch in there.
Who do you look at nowadays that you think kills it when it comes to that? Like, it doesn't have to be mountain biking. It doesn't have to be action sports. Like, I think for me, the two people I really look at the most and enjoy the most is your stuff and John Florence.
Oh, thanks.
And I think that he had a similar, not like a similar model, but like I think, well, I guess you could just say like he has a similar model, you know.
He's
like
just going out there and he's kind of capturing the moments that are like from his vision as well. Not like he has his crew. Like he has like, I mean, he's probably got more of a setup than I do, you know. Like he doesn't need to be taking photos. Like he's kind of like, things are captured. Yeah. But like he loves that aspect of it, and he takes cool photos, and he like has fun with it because it's like another element of like his life that he enjoys. But yeah, I would say I'm very much the same way. It's like more just like a pleasure thing. Yeah. And it's like, takes your mind away from like everything else that's going on. Like, like we do these crazy projects, you know, and like we get this location, we're only going to be here once in our life. No. And like, I'm so invested in everything that's going on. And it's like, sometimes I just need to take like 5 minutes to step back and like take a cool photo, or like just take it in. And that's my way of like stopping myself from like my kind of managing everything that's going on and like worrying about things, to be like, this is cool, we're here, I need this for like the memory books. And you just like, and there's things that are like happen throughout the build, you're like, whoa, that's a crazy thing, or this is a, you know, crazy light that comes through this place, or a weird plant, or like a funny thing that's been going on with the crew, and like you're like, I just need to capture this moment. And so yeah, that's why the, you know, little film cam or a little digi cam is just nice to have around and get those, because like, again, like it's almost the nostalgia of it. Like in 10 years I'll look back at these and be like, check this out, this, and like there's a story behind it for me, but it'll just be so much more interesting, like to be like, check this, like look what we did. You know, these places might not even exist in 10 years. And
the thing with the phone, like I've tried to get off Instagram lately, like just in terms of it not being on my phone. Like I found myself fucking way too many times, like just stand waiting for an elevator, that's actually what did it for me when we were in Dubai and I was in an apartment. Every day I had to wait for the elevator. As soon as I pressed the button, I took my phone out. And like you saw that, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, this is weird.
But you're in Dubai and it's probably insane looking
just
at
everything.
You're like, I should just be looking at what's in front of me.
And then it's funny. So like I'm clipping it off the phone. Like I still do all my I don't post any of our stuff. Like the boys do it. But it's like, I can still do the DMs. I can still reply to messages.
But you do it like it's emails. Like you're like, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to like consume it that way.
Do you do the same?
No, I don't. I try and be good about it. And like sometimes I'm like, okay, I need to like be up to date with Instagram, just see what's going on. And then I'd find myself like, I do what I need to do. And then I'm kind of like aimlessly scrolling, because I've lost the like concentration on what my task was, you know, like what I was about to do. It can be bad for sure.
But I've noticed that, so since I did that, I started shooting like with that more, because I'm like, I'm not as on my phone. And then, you know, the other day, like I was at Glen Helen and I was there late. I got there late and I was there late. I was the last dude on the track. Like there was just no one. Oh, I showed you the photos. But yeah, so I'm like, in that moment, that's normally a thing where you just put it straight on Instagram. So you go, you take the photo with the fucking, and it's just not like, it doesn't really give you that. It feels like data. It doesn't feel like a photo, if that makes sense. And yeah, I've noticed lately I want to take more photos now that I don't. That's not
better for you.
And it's like, and I ended up putting them on Instagram. They were better photos than they
because you took the time and you curated it a little better, and you're like, whatever you did, maybe you played with them a bit, or
and I just like but the moment was cooler for me. Like it wasn't the phones in the car, like it just doesn't. I'm on the track, like I'm not scrolling in between motos or whatever. So then it's like, I'm not on my phone at all. I'm not going to use it to take these photos. I'm not going to be on Instagram taking the photo to then be on it. Like I just was so much more in the moment. I just had like my fucking
it
camera.
was you and the track, and it's like sunset, and you're like, this is
it was just
sick.
cool. Yeah, just having that moment, and I just felt a lot more connected to that moment. And like what you said about I just need 5 minutes, because I remember at Farm Jam, like I actually run the photo you took of me as my WhatsApp thing for
nice.
like literally years. But yeah, it was like you were just kind of cruising around taking photos, you know, like, and that's the vibe that it gave off, is like, I'm just chilling. Like I'm just taking, it kind of forces you to be connected to the moment.
Yeah, taking it in. Yeah, for sure.
In a way that, you know,
again, it's
maybe
like,
we're not these days.
We don't have Farm Jam anymore. It's like, those are like,
that was
how many
one.
Farm Jams am I going to go to? Like, there's the craziest dudes in the world here. I'm like, just roam around and like take a couple snaps and, you know, try and, capture this and just have it to look back on.
That's a crazy place that is literally the bottom of the world.
Right.
Like there's nothing, like if you just walk, you just get to water, and then if you get on a boat and go straight, like that's it. You just hit the fucking ice. You hit the end of the world.
It's over.
And it's like all of the best dudes in so many disciplines come there with zero ego. It's all fun. Yeah. It's just like literally a week-long jam at the bottom of the world with the craziest.
It's the best ever.
It's amazing that place, and the fact that it doesn't happen every year as well. You know,
it's super special.
I wonder if surely there's got to be another one at some point.
I don't know.
Have you heard anything?
I haven't, but I like whatever, like on social or something, like text message, I'll talk to Dan and Brett a little bit, like just randomly here and there, and like you know those dudes are just as fired up on bikes and moto and everything as they ever were. So I'm like, it's in there. Like I could see them being like, you know what, this is the time, let's do something cool again, whether it's Farm Jam or maybe it's something different. I think those dudes are just like, they're purists at heart.
Pure,
like,
yeah,
they're cool.
Oh, that is cool. So Rampage just went down. You weren't there this year?
No, unfortunately not.
What's the story with that? Because it's kind of like, you're a pretty big deal at Rampage.
Yeah, I mean, at some point I won't be there, you know, like it won't be a forever thing, right? But I mean, I was hoping to be there. That was the idea, like from the beginning of the year. It was like, and kind of even after like how last year went down and everything, I was like, it was a different experience for me. And like normally, like there's sometimes I look at Rampage and I'm just like, I don't want to do this, you know? And then there's other times where I'm like really motivated for it. But like after last year, and then like, I had a really good time with the crew out there. And like, although I didn't feel like 100% prepared, like there was like obviously a lot going on. And like even before, like, you know, the whole rally thing got decided and everything like that, I was kind of in between project and Rampage anyways. So I was like, I just felt a bit scrambled, but like I had a good time at the event, and then I was like, it'd be good to just like come back into this like totally like fresh slate again, and just like more prepared. And I was definitely feeling it. But then so that project that I tried to do the year before, kind of, you know, we pushed it a year to be like, okay, let's make sure we get it all dialed, and like the land permits are dialed and everyone's happy and there's no problems with the landowners and this and that.
The boxes are ticked.
Yeah, so we have a whole year, you know, and then the location's like very strict on like, they're like, you get this window and these are your days. Like I didn't get to just be like, well, I think I'm going to show up Wednesday. Actually, no, I'm going to show up Friday now. It was like you show up this day and you have to leave this day. Yeah. So I didn't have like as much room to play with this one. And like, there's cattle and like, there's other stuff going on that they use the property for. And there's like, you know, there's aspects of it, and obviously weather and things like that too. So in the spring, they're like, these are the dates. You know, I got the dates. There's obviously at this point, there's no Rampage dates, but when I was looking at the dates, I was like, cool, this should be good. Like, it's like a good time of year to be building filming out there. So it was like kind of late September into like the beginning of October. I was like, that'll be perfect. Cause I'm like, Rampage is always like, I mean, in the last a couple of years, it's been late October. So I'm like, I can do this project. I'll still get a bit of time at home to like, I can kind of prepare a bit before and then get the project done and prepare a bit after, maybe the week, and get all my stuff dialed, show up to Rampage. And then Rampage dates came out and they're like 10 12 days earlier. So I'm like, I was like, and again, I'm like trying to do the logistics of like, okay, like if we get the shoot done this day, and then it's like a 15-hour drive home, and then I have to get on a different bike because I wasn't riding the same bike at the project as I would be at Rampage. And then like, okay, the build crew is going to be with me on this project. Are they going to be just like totally cooked? And like, we're going to all go to Rampage after like digging in the desert for 2 to 3 weeks and then just do it all again for another 2 weeks. And I was like, we were all like talking about it. We're like, is this realistic? And then, it was basically if I didn't finish the project on time, I would have about 12 hours at home before I'd have to fly to Utah.
Yeah.
So it was like, it's kind of like, and then it was really just weighing out like, am I going to do this project or am I going to do Rampage?
Yeah.
And then, my decision was like, again, like, I feel like I've prepared for this project. I think it's going to be, what I'll do in this project is going to be as or more exciting than anything I'm going to bring to Rampage. So Rampage is the same venue. I've been there 5 or 6 times already. And I was just like, I couldn't let go of the project. I was like, I got to do the project. It's just like, I feel like there's more potential value in it to me. And like, I feel like people will look at it like, oh, he wasn't at Rampage, that's lame. No. But I'm like, then the project will come out and hopefully I'm giving you like the best version of me instead of giving you something that was like obviously the best I could do at that venue, but like something that seems fresher. Like at Rampage, like I said, it's an older venue. It's been there for so long. And I'm like, I've ridden down the venue so many times. I'm like, there's only so many things you can do differently.
It's kind of racing again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm like
you're back into.
I'm not as challenged anymore.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm just doing the same thing again. Yeah, and I didn't want to feel like that. Yeah. Not that like, the ambition with Rampage is always to kind of bring something new, and I would have tried my best to do that, but I just didn't feel like I had as much room to do that.
Yeah.
And I was like, with this video project, I'm like, I've got a location that no one's touched on a mountain bike before, and it's really cool, and I've got a bunch of ideas and this and that, and like I'm ready for it. So there's basically that overlap. I did the project. I just decided, I was like, you know what? If there's any year to skip Rampage, it's this year. I'll go back the next year. It is what it is. It sucks. It was a bummer not to be there, but at the same time, I'm like, I think it's a good exercise as well, just to like, for me to step away from the event and almost start to look at it from like a spectator's point of view, because I'm always on site. I'm watching all these things
in it.
I'm watching the other competitors firsthand in practice and the builders and stuff. So it's kind of nice to like look at it from like an outsider's perspective and then be like, what makes this event cool, and get kind of like re-energized on the event of like, this is pretty wild. This is really cool. I'd love to be there with everyone. And like, maybe when I do it next time, maybe I'll have a bit different approach, because from what I saw as like just as more of a spectator, someone looking from the outside, I'm like, there's aspects of it that I didn't really like think of, because I'm just always there, and it's always like, I expect people to know certain things, or I expect people to understand certain things, but I'm like, well, maybe I'll just do it differently, or there's ways to like, capture things differently while I'm there, and we're like doing the experience and I'm sharing it with people on my social media, or if we do another video piece. So again, good exercise. Sucks not to be there. I am excited for this project. It's, we're working on the edit now. So hopefully in the next few months, could be a month to 3 months, we'll put this out. But yeah, it was, the shoot was successful, and that was awesome. And then the one plus side of that was, there was the last round of the rally championship. So I still got to get in the car as well, which was kind of nice, as just like an end of the year, like nice way to kind of just be like, cool, full season. Like we did it, like we did this huge project, like crazy build, long shoot days, got this project done, and I got to jump in the car a week later and just like go have some fun and just feel like I've like kind of ticked all the boxes I wanted throughout the year. Minus Rampage, obviously, but so it's bittersweet, to be honest, but I'm excited for this thing to come together and share with everyone.
What can you tell people about it that isn't going to give away too much?
That's like it's a desert location in Canada, just you know, it's Rampage-esque, but like very different. Like especially when we were on set, it was like building was like, it was challenging, like super challenging, but it opened up the doors for like different features, or like how you could kind of ride compared to like a place like Virgin Utah. Like it was a lot more like sandstone, so you could like shave things out and it would be like, it would stay packed.
It'd hold.
Yeah, exactly. And like, so there was like weird kind of formations that we could build off of. It wasn't like the same like exposure and vertical as Utah, but like you had these like kind of more intricate kind of undulations to the terrain. And it's like, dude, it's like a hole in the ground. It's the craziest place in the world. Like you're literally like, we drove there like with all the gear, you know, and you're driving through Alberta, and it's just like, if anyone knows Alberta, it's just flat. Like you can see miles, and it's just like, we'd been driving for, you know, once we got out of BC, it's like, just feel like we've been staring at like, you know, the horizon for 10 hours. And then you just literally like drive into the earth, and the horizon just falls away, and then it's just like, boom, this whole zone. It's so insane. So it just like, it was really cool from like a riding perspective to get like a bit creative with some new terrain, and then a filming perspective, because it's like, it's just a weird place. It's like grass fields, and then this wild like desert location, river kind of going through it. And, you know, like the light's really nice in the fall. Like Rampage is always a bit frustrating, because it's like the fall is like the best time ever to film, but like Rampage, you've committed, like, especially if you're like putting a lot of practice in before the event, it's like you're practicing for a month, and then you're in like Utah for like almost, you know, it feels like a month. Like by the time you recover, by the time you get back from it all, you're like, that was like,
it's a month of your life gone.
Yeah, it was like full on. So it's like, if you're not trying to like stack a video project and right in front of Rampage, it's like you don't ever really get anything done in the fall. So it was nice to be like, step back and like not have that pressure of like, I need to be at the event like in a couple weeks. Like if I hurt myself here, it doesn't matter. Like I can go all in on this project instead. So it was just nice to have the opportunity to film something in the fall, and hopefully it'll be pretty sick project when it's all wrapped up. Yeah,
and it probably does re-inspire Rampage for you.
It does.
In a sense, you know?
I mean, dude, like literally I did Rampage. That's how it felt. Like I'm like, I just did it.
Yeah.
I wasn't around 60 other people.
Yeah, I did my own Rampage.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's pretty cool as well.
So I'm like, it was funny because people were like, oh, like you bummed to miss Rampage. And I'm like, you know, I just got home. I'm like, dude, I just got back from Rampage. Like I was like, I literally just spent 2.5 weeks in the desert. Like I'm pretty good. Yeah, I don't really need to do that again. You know, the boys were crushed. I'm like, it would have been a savage move. Like, and we actually did go a day over, and the landowners were cool with us going a day over. We got like super winded out at the end. So yeah, looking at it logistically now, like I wouldn't have actually even been able to get to registration on time.
Yeah.
To finish, if we finished the project the way we did. So it all like kind of panned out, you know, the shoot was successful. Like, yeah, again, just a bummer, but the way it goes, and hopefully next year will be, you know, I won't have that over my head. I can just like, you know, if Rampage,
just go all in that,
you know, is happening, and hopefully there's like a cool new venue or something like that, or just something switched up a little bit, and it'll just be like, you know, re-energized and ready to go after a different approach.
Yeah, sweet. So any plans locked in for 2024 that you kind of know about, or?
To be honest, I've like zero plans.
That's dope.
You know, there's a couple film projects, some like a personal project I'm trying to wrap up right now, like hopefully get home and get some more stuff done before the snow flies in BC, and then potentially working on another project with SRAM that should be super fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, like other than that, like just, you know, some trip ideas, just keen to get on the bike in the winter and just get a bunch of time just riding and thinking about the next things. You know, Rampage could be on that list for the fall, and then some film ideas I have, but nothing's solidified at this point. It's more just like starting to plan out what that could look like and where we could do it. But yeah, like hopefully do some good trips. Like I'm definitely keen to like travel a bit more again. Like the last few years have been, feel like we've been really local with like, and I say local, I mean like North America with a lot of the projects where I'm like, you know, if we have to go further to do something, like I'd be like pretty keen on that. But yeah, just it's kind of a blank canvas at this point. Like hopefully there'll be motorsport endeavors, and hopefully we'll be flat on the bikes, and yeah, it's just gonna be, I'm excited for next year.
I reckon we should try playing something in Dubai.
To be cool, be super cool.
Yeah,
still never been, and yeah, after talking about it today, I'm like, I feel like this is so crazy.
Yeah,
it'd be sick to check out.
Yeah, that'd be some cool shit.
Yeah, that moto track was nuts.
Yeah, and that's just like 20 minutes out.
Yeah,
of the city. Like, you can go. We went to this place with Toby. He did the World Rally. They did like the Abu Dhabi Desert Challenge. Totally. And we went into these dunes they're called the Liwa Dunes, and they're like on the border of Saudi Arabia. Like we literally drove to the thing where it says like, unless you're a military vehicle, do not drive past this. You'll get shot. Whoa. And I'm like, cool. This place is fucking wild, and that just the dunes and it's just. I don't even know what it would be possible there. Right. Like it would be crazy. So.
Yeah. I've watched a bit of it, like the crazy, because they have some insane like hill climbs there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I've like just YouTubed it because I'm like, I don't know, just curious about it. I'm like, this is some wild terrain.
Yeah. So maybe we get something like that in.
I'm into it. Yeah.
Well, mate, this has been unreal. I said to you in Farm Jam, I reckon, that it was like a bucket list podcast. I always wanted to. I just wanted to get you on and hear your perspective of, just how you look at, life and writing and creating and everything that you've done. And you've always been a person that I've really looked up to in like a creative sense. And then as a fan of people on two wheels, I've been a fan in a massive way. So you've always been a guy that like really fit my interests in a huge way, and then met you and you were cool as fuck. So it's it's definitely been a cool experience to sit and get to kind of pick your brain and learn a bit about what makes you tick,
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, thank you so much for having me. Almost 4 years later, I'm sorry it took so long, but small detour to California. You were here. I feel like this is like best case scenario to like sit down and in a proper studio. So good things take time. Hopefully, it was worth the wait. And thanks for everything. I appreciate the kind words and stoked to catch up soon and hopefully ride some bikes and do some more fun things.
I'm on the way to BC. Yeah. I'm there.
Let's do it.
Never been. And I'm keen.
I'll show you around. I'll get a moto out and we'll go check some stuff out.
Well, Brandon Semenuk, ladies and gentlemen, fucking man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We're excited to announce the launch of our new membership site, gypsytales.com, packed with exclusive content and perks that you won't find anywhere else. This is your chance to become a part of the Gypsy Gang. And as a special bonus, if you sign up to an annual membership, you'll be entered into the draw to win our custom-built TC125. Gypsy Gang.